O Creator, may your spirit and guidance be in us as we work for the benefit of all our people, for peace and justice in our land, and for the constant recognition of the dignity and aspirations of those whom we serve. Amen.
Members, I begin this day with the sharing of sad news. The Honorable David Sear.
David Searle is first elected Speaker of this Legislative Assembly, March 1st, 2021. Mr. Searle was Edmonton Amagundi, Mr. Searle is common coal mine to the University of Alberta, serving in the Royal Canadian Army Reserve. Mr. Searle met a law degree in University of Alberta, 1961. The law firm looked at Northwest Territories, the word Searle. Mr. Searle, the law looked at 20 years with the president, he led the Law Society in Northwest Territories. Mr. Searle, the Legislative Assembly in 1967. He was a member in late 12 years. He did the issue as a Speaker May 1975. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Searle, Jean Sida, Yiki Megagonism. The government of North Territories Mr. Searle, Tandi do the IT do the Gotland digging all the other. It did business. I see now the Ketani de Kakwati, the diamond industry in Northwest Territories quite. It is the scout leader, got the nation long Chikwakoni, go not Nezunade, the Diata Scouts Canada, President Gacy. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Searle, is Yassi long the Metagaudi. Got the Yassi on DC, and the Metani got a motive. It la midi, Meteke, Silla Stock, me tweet Christian, stepson, Edward, Nicholas, got the grandfather Hilly. Is the grandchildren. That is a member of assembly. Jason, Sim, Koketligodesi, got Mega Kaya de Tia. Mr. Searle's family got a Metani. Two like Cecilia say Tani got as in law. Condolence book is a great hall. Member says him, is the KZ, Kozi, the Kinag, the go to Motis and Megakatule, the played out. Members, due to the Tennessee, is just the assembly, Dandi got a 30-year service as Brian Third, our sergeant at arms. Mr. Thager, D.C., Legislative Assembly, Facility Manager, March 4th, 1991. Got appointed Sergeant of Arms as in October 2004. Sergeant of Arms, Mr. Thager, is Agent Assistant Legislative Assembly, Kiwindi. Medandi Volati, kote mekyo di members sikyo di zekia. Constant kote du administration kala kandi du kagoti. Du assembly. Kandi ne zulan di. Our own members to join in Masi go to the 30 years of service. Masi. Minister statement, minister status of woman. Mr. Speaker, Dene Zhatıé International Women's Day out, 1975, United Nations, March 8, Equality Condition go Rasute Dunji, Kote Tidandi Lisi, Kandi Jo Kotaya, the go now the Ketahe, in Degag. Dutsena. Koga Rasute Dendi, I with the Masi got the Tizekia. 2 years, 2 guys here, you see car, Mr. Speaker, Tizeke and Dadigwanda. Ajizeki go, Tizeke Silla, Dandi Sigala Tazeki Gatanda, Kosanesi, Dandi Dajni, Dandi Zekia, Sisi Gatanda, Tizim is the Harnesu. Dandi Shui as an easy, Ijizeke Takandi, Tazomuni cheating the co. Nakia Ronda Kijain on a Tazajasi, Nakizika Mogon, Konezwasite Goteta Sadikia. Tizeke any day are Ronsi, Tennessee, Titane Kandisi Tilly, Teneju Lisi, Zekegat and Dani dead, Titiago was go on there. Is a removed cotton daddy society, Mr. Speaker, government la di condition conatela. Tandi asi que de adaptation, the conjugal matter. Ya Tandi Rina la tele oji seditli as home. Mr. Speaker, government Northwest Territories is using condisi gatanda. Did you the gender tekezi gatanda. Ajione, say NWT tekezi ka, Tizika go to the Tenakayan, Tizila ka, go program Hollis Guni. Go to Netiazago, Tan DC, Meta, Teli, Teneju, Tenedeli Zeki, Kandisi come at the Honor policy program Guni. The Kaji Migenago Tazeki gatanda on the Teli guys here. The Catalegani day, the leadership is in the seniors level agute. That the Kakotini day, Nakisi de Kenadesi yards ago. That's a Tizeke, a sea senior Tizeke in Candida Mekenagot. Diana Ranazo. Tizeke me the Ondasi a seagot, Messenia Tiazimu and Dilati. The Zeke you go on Desi Akala, Contatas and Diazon Tizeli Zekea. Eugenie de Tantico Galagan Tatzekiradanda. And in the society, Tiesa Quatule, officer get it. Tizeki Candini de Media to Tautini, the Candidatanda. The chamber silla, do Tanagis Chuteke, do te got in Dezeke, and the Gizigatanta as go. Here the cake is a Tazim and Handasi Guli a Gundi Adele. Nakiaron, Nakego, Venandi, Sa, the cake is a Tadu te got in Degin de Gizigatandani de Titana Midicandi. Zili Tenejuclesi Candisi Mirago Tazon, Cago Tonji Miragonti Sewade. Candida Zigoga like Tazon Naki, government Lisi, Cotetandi Segaita. Naki ministry, Metaza Seon, Sajgumzeki, a sea tubena Teseo, Tizekesi, Ajili Zeki Candisi the Cosini idea. Candindigi Munici. Estimationi et theatre in 19 summer the casing. Adin Deka Kandi as a go oyen. Mr. Speaker, Diaron, the Kazin Dame Nanasi, the Kazin, Tucson International Women's Day here with Masi, Mr. Speaker. Minister statement. Mr. Speaker, the Kazin Metade Ati, Kandi the Kota the Kazia. Constitutional territory session. The community health and well-being the Kigatan Dazon, because a Nazi, because as I do think on the Nazi territory news. The Kandi Gatan Dani, the Volunteers Northwest Territories Outstanding Awards programs in 1991 is in La. Is the Gatan Nini Data and media Kandi on Asia Rogotin Degi Simu because of the Joa, the Ajon NWT resident Zeke. Mr. Speaker, Dutsenam. Is the 2020 Northwest Territories Outstanding Awards winners. Dugai. Is the health protocols as a public health gathering. Is the Honda DC video. Is the meal DC recipient. Is the KC video C. Dutsen AC Dutsen Magatanda. Is the written outstanding award session. Is the outstanding elder award Mario Casbeer. Outstanding Youth Award, Anna Sergey. Outstanding Individual Award, Gala McCosh. Outstanding Group Award, Inclusion Board of Directors. To TZKC, Andimo Kadushi, Ezek Elati, Kandesi Laka Kotaiti, Sadus Town of Wire Kotaiti. Folks on the rock Kandesi, Kandiko Zandi, TZKC. TZKC Kandini, the stage manager, Shuhili. Jigoni music manager, Folk on the Rock Festival. Yatozi, Moti, Hego, Goran, Ajon Meja, Isi Kakandi volunteer get it done at the guy. TZKC, Mary Missy $1,000 to make the organization is more than I made that folks on rock annual. Hannah Grief is you volunteering let the Yellowknife Sagotan. The Tezakiaja CC line got among youth the Foxy, YWCA Youth Council, Yellowknife Catholic School, this education program got the throat singing to the Chikakoni Wagakon at the Wallet Catholic School. She did her role model on the dark kids and go at the Kigani day. It did ya gonna tenade, gonna zute Kigani, it did easy candy kindly. Tied the KZ winning award $1,000 in. Tied it did out the legal to guys, she is it out you Foxy, Ayla. Kathy McCock is it board directors, Yellowknife Association of Community Living TTR co-chair, Dance Collective, member of chair Community Garden Collective Board, Ejizeketa DTC Lati County Committee Uko Galanta, Kotatsaki workshop, the fundraising Ashugutandi, Yundagwa Dandi Gotao Disney, the Jikandigotandi. It's a Kosani see you can't see it came at a warning it's your worth $1,000 Magoto. I see you donation watch you any day young like Women's Society guy you. If you take you the Kelati Northwest Territories. If you have two Sagoteshi disability as a Gokotatek, the board is 9 members. Is yet the Kandisi. Anditan the Takadale, Tizeke. Andinde, Tizeke, Kandi, Go Galagan Tazeke, to the Gotlin Day, Diago Zago Zagendi, the disability was a court in Zizeke. The desert board the scene, Katlanake Day got the Kandi Kaganet, Asigo the Tanyugi Artizeke. They can't dizzy. Tadi Tikati award no the board of directors see $1,000 to DTO Hamigagi Agati is your NWT Respite Service Program. Mr. Speaker, Titeke Cabinet must go to see a road the KCDT 2 words the Kega. Kojami the Kojun Danizero is a Kirida must go to see as a go. Jazuko Tazaki. No desert, I join everybody, I joined the Nation County to the outstanding awards at KC. Must go, because that's all got that kind of time. That you can't do it with. Must, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Premier, Mr. Speaker, March 8th, International Women's Day, has also led to KC at Tutsi, because it is Charles or Tutte Gotland Day, Canada was our joint day, and there's on the Zuko was on the Azoa. The Daze, Lizzie, Candisi car, a get it, go Gasakete, because the officer. Candisi 15,000, see Lizzie 1908. The March of 1911, a cool Women's Day who needs it. As it's a KC, 2 Candisi, 2 Kageti, the clever the Tezeke, Ketejita, got the public office. And then the discrimination that Tizimiki with here. That due to 2019, Mr. Northwest Territories, Candisi, Kandi Vorgela. Tila Kakon Tegaili, Lego Kagucha, Tila Kaziti, say Lisi, Tiaji, Wonagini, a Tandina Gete, Tandi go take it in the Hongani, it's a Honeta Kandi, go to Senesi Kakondigo, Agucha. She's a Casey got and Dani de Kakala, Kodijiko Kakodega, the Chili. 2 Ajon Degi, Seka Chiku, Tenejuka de, Ejita Kezo Kandia go ole. Do you see la Katsi, Lita Kandigo, Ko was on car, Kandio, Satanaga Jan Lago Chikot, Kondigesia, Ejidawas. Kandi Zeli Sitakala Dule Asigo Tazani Niga Tazatani Lizake Law Teleco defines the cake energy, economic development, climate change, Ija Kandi Katile Zelia. Mr. Speaker, the Kandiagote is the women's portfolios of words. Tati the KZ can't go on a chat, the committee the KZ, the Tandi Ligi Lizik. Kago de G, the politician, Mr. Speaker. Kakala, a season can't dizzy, like he to the Magalite at the toe, got Tanai de sea. No, no cleaning in it. Nagaya hand Kakon de tea. Kitty, Sikakanandi, CP supremacy. So long these years are only clear said. Kala Yakago Tali Clementele. Hekala is here to the Conny with her to send to her. Tati the Casey can't dizzy could the and then I kick at this year. It go a roll more lately. Can't any day too late. I see the corners you go. The Andinas are doctor, teacher, CEO with political leaders kill Yatule. Tizeli, Sitalo si, Kilia Tulane, Tatizeli, Nakika, Tisi, to go Hatiti, Kosakatani, they did to Atul Kakil. Kakanandi, Norway Defense Minister, Kati, Tizeke 2021, 2017, it's a thought Defense Minister Norway, Zili Agiti. Chicago, Yako, Tekon, the Defense Minister, Kagon. Boys, the city defense minister, it is common that cannot and theatre. Nakiaji Gaita the Kazi, Cantin de Tulimcurisho. Down di Kotaza di Jam Lagua. In ye say Linakeka, Daisy Nezugoki, a Tegagogan Daden as Joanna Cemetery speaker, a dia role model in Lia, code Nezuisi down the other, the Kazigo Zekagati. Kakala Tegala Tazon, Nezu, Candina Zona, the Asina Tukayas, Lazi, other the Teatule, the violence, the policies and programs that had any day, Nezute, Lizzie, Kandi, Galagate, Teatule, Nakitazon, Quati, Tezeketeko. Mr. Speaker, Tezekete, Lizzie, Kautesi, Edi Tia Tukagon, Dizzy, as a society go. Any day, Nezuzi, Kandia, the owners of Sisi, Mr. Speaker. Da sita Kazigat and the COVID-19 pandemic, Yateliagila, the Kazi elected leaders are Kandio did the COVID-19 of Yathagit, Kotsagindi, Tila Senyagi a doctor Zagin Lizeli, and this year Rosa Kazit and Zagindi. It designed the Zagindi, the Kandese vaccine Gihatule, the virus Sago Gagindi. It's a Goago net, the Yuntago Gani de Tiamica Getigia Goago net. Mr. Speaker, International Women's Day, as 110 years ago, only the equal writer. Disi Metahate Lisi Tule, Kala Kageti, Kala Disi Tiaza Chazi, Kandisigo Tiatule, Kandin Lazozate Lisi Ka, go say. Esekutat on Nakitu Kasiti celebration city a Rose li Celia Zeke a Rose Kenny Dejon Daisy Nakite Lisi Kandia a si senia the tinde la Daza Sete. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Mercy, Honorable Premier. Member Statement, Kamlik, Mr. Speaker, to citer les questions, Massi, Kogalanda, Kesi Kanti Quat, des questions, Konezu, Siguatanet, Tutene, International Women's Day, Sigazanda, Ka, Metehanda, tu la Guliazele. Education. Niseli nane guzi jite kesi la do tesi kotin deze kesi tazo komo yagi lide kon ne zukyo gira. Sa te chilan tiao le liete ke gani de. Citeli wanane te esi asigureti. Kandio katule sekotele. Tite Kesi o Kandi, Siliko Galatan Tate Keni de Kandini de Shuka, Ko Galatan Ta de Hali. A sine cha, Tom Kevit Atlete Kigatanda. Tati te Kesi, Kandisi Nana Siasi Yaselazeki, Ijama Galaita, Down the Athlesia, Ketago o Senu de Ani de. Megatan Tazagon. Tite Kesi la Honzeni Zedantele, Ajon Sutri Azekian. Tite Kesi, Kotetan di Megatan Taze Kesi on the di. Selitli de Kesi. Handagi la Kakakoti, Kodiji, Tite 16% on Diati, Kandisi Selisi. Katseliagit. The other the Kezi Gatanda, Tandi Quagiti Zeki, the Canada the Kezi, 150 billion Zeki, and this are Quagit. Sili the Kezi 37% they got in Degi, 2% Landian. Sili Zi, Ka Kodiji, Tizeke. 这里是看西国的啊，看就可能就国家大地底下这个，这些开始，Mr. Speaker，也是啦，马西的西国啊，那底下是真人的。Mr. Speaker, Mr. Callie, côté J, disait qu'il y a deux côtés si son candidat à la deux côtés Mr. Speaker, et disait que International Women's Day ici dit candidat, qu'on genta, dit na hisi candidat coulia de dit a dit que c'est l'ici on candidat à une nutrient, Mr. The COVID-19 c'est que vaccination ici tout est côté dégagé ici na hikana naga go kenditra NWT et dia konatsi kiate the vaccine c'est kia. Mr. Speaker, February 26, NWT residents ici the condition vaccine ici, côté l'agent NWT 32% agent NWT population zeki. Et je zeki February 26 c'est quoi? 1.7% zeki ici. Et yako tout à tigo onja. Ta ti zeki ici gatsan ta zeki ici. Gatsan tani de modat. United Nations Secretary General Kezi iti kakala datli do du vaccine de Kezi liego wotole ta honano kontalandi countries kala di kazeliani. Mr. Speaker, di agente che datlesi modati metazetian adien la hisi ka mena india nahi. Tutte côté night go te tandi na te ji ja night na chan de ke ji gaita e khonse ke konka ko la yo na hisi number 1 was he did kanti ze ke ji ten disability security ze ke Northwest Territories Prince Edward Island ze ke si the COVID-19 ze honda sini de ka na hisi na ke go ondi se macha ze ke ji o ti the public health officer Minister Green ka za jo ajiri gara kinta ze ke ji mita na ki na ke o ti se macha ko sane ze den kara a ze ke ji masi kiti Tati ze kezi kandi kagu chanjin deja ajon degi NWT je masi ko zautin du sine sendi masi.
Statements. Member for Yellowknife North.
Mr.
Yellowknife North. Tize kezi gatan tati ajon ze ke gatan tati te kotin teze. TWT Gudin Yugi Azgo, Tize Kesio, Tiasi, Kenya Zilete Kiayendi, recycling Zeti, Ijayendi. Ajiri la Tula Zellisi Gatan Tazo, Tia Sia Zilon de Conide. Kate, Kandin Nezu, Mikegala Tatule, the stakeholders were the Guande. Naki, Nahoti, Nana Tigatishi, Titahara Sageti, Hadigaragan Tazakia. That is the case. I see Tennessee or Metzeguinde 20 years ago. Titiawi was a Zeguinde. Tak Ajati thì còn đấy chứ ở khi cái nhà thì là cái nó tại chi này để mà tạo ra asen thì chỉ mà các con ta tu cho nên ta nó khảo thế gì các con ta whole airport road thì sẽ hazon si na si khát thì cho nên cái khác là khát mấy cái ta giống mà thì xin mấy cái hôm nay ta để ta nó khảo thế gì mà xin như thế giống thì khảo thế gì tu当躺着去个正当你的也习惯的是去摸着地嘞，你知道的 fully staff 或者是嘞，看就等着看的是，看的可能爱你的，你就啊古的，啊让的看看的啊嘞的这，他的看的你的，你就啥这个来打的，你就那车子里头嘞。downtown 在去看的呢，到时候没到过早的 ，minister 在的去呢，也那在去，的在去，打工当地，后来到在去的，要我那里生的，没事 Mr. Speaker，没事。的在去，是。The alternative north 的去是，没在你在去是，阿真大可，如果那是你在他好的打着，的在去是了，但呢，可他个他吃了个的茶，但呢去年的呢，但双双把么在，第二种在去是阿真大的的，大概的我是照顾的，他GNWT 在去是。The 2016 是多的 anti-poverty 在提醒看第一个了，大家在给我蘑菇生的，看第那上哈，第二门个里去，啊，第那时候学他 NWT 对嘞，你做那个爱用大你啥个个的，看第谁给来你的那时候，当这个，如果这样的在给是个真的。第四，第个第四讲第三，第个那个啊，那这第这给他看的，看对了没个 plan 这些，但是第看的是在啊这给黑你的是看对了的，看他这给看的是，没他看过，后你来接他说没事了，他第这给那种 government organization。The government go around that delegate. Not in this, the social service minister that you can. Is a case you. Must remember. Great slave. Must Major Speaker. The thì thế cái này thế là mà cái này anh cả tuy nhiên muốn đi gì à yun ta qua có thể ra rồi thế thì mình cái suy thế đấy đi à yun ta ta thế cái ta virtue thế cái con đi thì tu thế có tình thế ta nào đấy thế cái gì cũng có cái này à tu thế thì cái của thế thì university có thể the engineering có thể看这些个真的，他地区安上的那些钱，但是看这个人大你得看，还说谁谁问题，那些真个真的那是 university 是，看这个安的那就对这个定的了，从我去那个也是哪里的这个钱，没人的这个的看你的，还就那些的这个看的是哪里的。对的，但那些个对嘞，国外国内谈，提醒么子好大些，这个呢是，看的么个是说在这个呢的，他，人家是，可能说是哪里的，把 program 这个他呢的，看对了呢说是哪里的，提醒那个对嘞， Metsazandi. Dutse Nesi, Kagon Diago, Nizu Tigarazandazo, a sea to get Yuntele, Tile, Metsazandine, Tile Metazan. And you can you call a Siciliani de Tansis a Guli Tahandi. Nana Tenalaka Wonganizia, Nana la Kandi, a Kamodish, Titute, Teke Kandi Mo was Sesio, Kandia Gatanda, Sega Magatanda, Mekegalata, Hotiaute the Kesi, the manager who was in the Azagon. Taji the Kesi, the Tekegatan Tiny de Arjon, the Kesi, Kaganata, the university, the two Coneta, Kandi. Dia rota che si tu le magaita, Mr. Speaker. Tanet e la hita ose si mi chiudicio, si gaison. Candini de the engineer di Dini de a draw sisi walk and te got in te tanti go on the case. But saying this on that tu le tu te got in de metaz at the end of mercy. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Hunters and trappers, the case you will go send it. It's a international woman, they are good. C'est sur la candide et les hunters and trappers. The hunters and trappers, the case, Hutli Godeti. Et Jana qui ici, mais ta city. Ça sont pas de raditi, tout ce n'est. Son harvesters, c'est Kandi na gette the case, Gaganda, Guli, Lago, Tara, Sigalaganda, Estiondele. Then at son la Candina get Deondele. The generation does get in the cabin. Department in our common curation. The compensation that goes in the deck. Antigo, the cat is on bound. Some harvesters, the case is a regional scene. See, look at it. In this spring, at least you have good job. And Maganda do guy to the case, Diaja. Hutli Diade, Hatash, Cotamete, Ontazi, Hutli, got a me right as one, took the got in days here. The hunters and trappers, she said, Gani de Kala to Tiande, I can't deal the Kala ho, Nahu Quagon, that is to Tiande. That is the Kegaita, as on the case. Solandi son basi kandi meticulously. The candidate the cane. 20% go with an income see henet egestion de do. Dandia the candy go. The Mackenzie Delta do to ke could then many day as a Hutiagon there. He ran a Shuka continue to work in Dia. Tadina get this Kikawu chanting. Masidi, Minister no Teta du Kenen. The medevac service will go send it at Delta G. Jana Himigaita, to them. Then the Condisi medevac will go to E. A new got them all that. The Mekyo de Jana said the Beaufort Delta the Kesiga. The service the Kesiga, Mekegala the Kesiga, Antane. Naheko Tashi, the Kesigata, the Taz the Kira Talatazade, Kira Kilida. Ta Antigo, Kiasigo, Tago Zautili, the Ketigoti, the Kesi. Estiontele. The Kesi di on, the Kesi la di on, Stavasi, 니지 가라겐 다다 다 단제고 대신 디가들리네 히칼 나히 아시틀야 들리 아제면 스라테 이지아타데 케넨디 마신 All question. Yellowknife Center, Mr. Speaker. That's it, saying is you. Is it two International Women's Day walk Monday? And the Raya la County, I see, Rashu to down the is usually Emily Tessin. New Kadichu. Ya Jean take it go out at that. Do Raya International Women's Day. Now the Legislative Assembly see to the Galactic the continue dates is a target this Yazgon, the county only goes on to take out in these pipelines, yani de chili mutaton. Chili son. You can do after the Galactic on to Tago. Galactic, could you go touch a nugget? Go to see charge is if you want. Chili, she can't do that still. Tandy Elegant that a case you can't yet shago to see is yes, you dele. Tell Mr. Speaker, the politics that career dele. 24/7 a gallant and down with it. That's the Amagaza, Gogata. Public service like Con Nezu at the Ganuti on them. Somebody will get a detail. Universal daycare Goganda. The other the seniors housing, Katia Ron Kayang Dizilla, the Zeli Galagi John, Simonish. Taji the Kazi Condini de delay to the cutting date and a geo dizek. Tazi Lizeki Condisi officer get Dizekini day, the down D that is Tiashukiti. Doing that the colors ago. Zeli the Kazi advisory unit car. Zeli siga katule kandisi le ko wako genet. At onze kandian talo site ki go dakanito. Tandi et le tandi mikena DC is yakala magalata. The special committee the KC as the assembly the KC. Et the DC the kandu go ten dende go anezua. Is the hard the committee see ka asi DC gagenda tandi the candidate case tandi go kina di gagenda tas zeli ni tene jigi le ko asi zeti meselan that is the case ka chu shi yone zai gagenda go sa tu da ji the case me chen asi ton in da ni 2022 exactions. This is the committee of the whole hey, go get that this year. In that to election is in Kalauki, such as any do can do the do say Lisi can do politics and that. Because they don't do the public service. That's all say Lisi. Oh. American Daisy Miguel, you go to Kata. Contained the 2019 decade. Stasi, to go tight to the not senior to the end. Massy.
Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Recognition of visitors in the gallery. Acknowledgements. Acknowledgements. Member for Frame Lake.
Merci, Mr. President. Merci, Hannah Seegers in IDT Youth Category Winner 2020 Outstanding Volunteer Awards. Ms. Seegers has caught the art of any with throat singing as you indeed are got the go to Catholic school, the Catholic school, Wagon Eton, with the art of key. This is a case contain the lazy contain must see the city Anna. Merci. Merci. Do this a case good the Mary Lucretia Beer edit the elders award the case on Anna. Merci du see got the Dandin the other Metacotazi as you go on to the Merci. Merci, Great Steve. Acknowledgement or question to Yellowknife North. The Yellowknife Teki Kandisi Ganda Teki. The Dandi Asi Teki Minister Kardushi. That all the recycling depot is that's an giant. Mr. Speaker, as you see July 31st, comment with the end. I see. The license case la car, Meconia 2022 the case cashew, and that's it. Kakondi, I would. The can't die you won't go in 2021 to see that the president of Dalion did you not take it? Mr. Speaker, July 2020 the case got the company, media the case, make it business license the case, key Kanti Yagin Dale 2021 the case. Jirao Kabucha and the Masin. Mr. Speaker, she the case more 90 say. The license case Minister, she do the Talosi case, she do need you a sound did that to let the recycling is rather the downtown the case ending. Mr. Speaker, members must see it's a case. Nakika Megaita as on the young lives as on the staff the can't get the case. Can't see DC that the aunties had something as an intercote. Do wasn't that to take out in data the reality. That do see la Ron Siguli Gaita. That the members it's a Kekatile Cardisia Calamike Galaita, Massini. Mr. Speaker, it's a Kesila Massi Ati, it's a Keokayan, it is minister. Tilasi, a carriage of the Kesia. Downtown the Garrison. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the car Mecha tadu ti ni ti zeke. Ta ka mendadi kwaita ajita ni lao zeke si 21-22 zeke. Haka la mendadi kwaita yendi masi. The nakput. Tizeke o medevac zeke 24 hours zeke ta tanete yatala na te ji set riding zeke delta zeke ko te si mega backup plan gundi o yatala ta te ta tuni de Mr. Speaker, is it the question is he I noticed that there Kiji teke ki muri shole jitadas in the masin. Masi Mr. Speaker. Ka iji teke si a ka backup system gunlia sondi. Ti iji asi yat ala ki kala te ton kon sagu chata ni de. Taji teke si kata de ki azagon ti teke si. Ta ti sete constituent de si. Uti o nagini ze dao ta de ki adas in the masin. Mr. Speaker, the aka, with the information that the on notice at the end, masi. Frame Lake. Minister Health Sources Sade. The anti-poverty strategy that ke was. Is it a mega condi holy zeke jomo kayotine. Minister a sea kyogerero. Tizeke measure reporter si. Got a situle yego geta na seconde and the masi. Mr. Speaker, is the alternative road take a report card right da kala mega and dago government si take a siga county in the son panicini all the end the masin. The anti-poverty the case mega the report card key you kageleal and the sega stile. Kakala meke gala tago te the dute northern market the case here. Meze honeta na hizi tule asitevane zugita kitindi. Minister, si tule na te kati tadi and dade galan tache ki ayend. Mr. Speaker, teacher Casey. Sticks to Canada di tigo tata telo. Da di Zekini de workshop again stakeholders non-government Zeketa di 2018. Da si dandi mode show ala di telephone kandisi workshop agati. Ijite honeta di Yukon si Zeke Northwest Territories Zekezi ka di statistic Canada si kandi koza tagetin dia kaudia kin lato te gotin di Zekea. Da di no te la isi di te ke chi da si tule di mete honda tule dandi mete lu ta dandi me kazana ta Zekezi. Adesi ka tusenesi di proposal getsi. Ta talo si tene kandisi yori shonde tu go te sito. Kandigo di si la di community level kantele. Is ya regional tazel ya kotaile. Yandi 6 regions of NWT zekeane. Vision Dagger Liayan, the Kotaga Liali, is Yayan. Masi, Minister Masi, you see, Tite Ketika, Magatan Taziganta. Is two poverty report the KC, is Maganda. Tanti, then Kota, then the family Slenake, Dene Zhatıé 90 say. Then the Tati Quina get the Minister. She did like that, maternity, the county, the case, then the Mogun days, thousand colleagues, without the other corny, that you see to Mokaya and the end. Massin. Massi. The poverty report is a tiny day. Department Dashi, Shekageti, a town di Titule, to the gotin day, said the legislation. And da Digitagatan La Tazanaya, the Tizaki, the January Qua, Yunta, Tanesi, Nitu Legeti, the gotin day, the food security education. And then they delay, Naya Geti. 다 같이 라디 인디지너스 게테네시 카데 아니데니라 그거가 라이다 그자 얘가 리포트 게치래 다고 차지 게죠 다이제 게지나 히토 그거 때는 어때니데 디 멤버스 게다기 인디제 게죠 디 마신 마시 미니스터 마시 디시 디 Government KC anti-poverty 2013 page count. The Yellowknife megainta. It was a sick as you would say, it was a good year, 2015 is Minister. Tila ti take our poverty words a Kazina. Tandi Moratia. To take it on the Morati, the KCI end in the machine. Merci, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is it a member of the 2013 occasion la? Tandin yugine or 2015 take action plan take 2019, 2022 take. Is Yarakala method land? This occasion anti-poverty strategy. The member, Metekashi, Muti. The KC County members in the title Tennessee County go to the town that deserves the care. Da the Kegats and Tiny Day Yaga County, Kuli, New Guinea on the poverty the KC. That 2016 a queer Yuganese. Ka, I got a tell more that you are got a sea who needs a more that Yanni. 다 이제 개주다 제 개시야 다나 히카면 교리죠 칼라 디 메고 칼라나 시텔레 칼라면 다리 과이다 다운디 세리 제 개시야 다운데 연디 마신 마시 Minister of Tourism Industry la tanete small business is the case la tanete on the city la zekat yendi machine machi is the case at 24% business on yajon 3,000 zeke onza de te gotin deze Taji the Kesiaka, Metayati at Luson, these numbers at the King Day and the Masin. Mr. Speaker, done it a percent on the Tizeki, I do take out in the others. Mr. Speaker, the 9% Hesa, the business is there at the 35% is your hotel is that you tell you on the again. The Jacket and Tani Day. Tanet on the jail is here to take out in day jackie. The Hadigala Tajaki and the two Garayan. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Ka Huti et Aneta Dizacation, Program Zaki, Hajon Asizacation, Megaita. La Joyola, look at it. At the Chamber of Commerce, in Tata, they got Taza Jokandi, go new the iron, go Sanesi, Dizzy Gatanta, Dizaki, the business Zakani de Ka. April 1st, 2020, what they see car 5% long, dear John. It's a more that in the machine. Mr. Speaker, the case, the Kadi, the case in Yogi are Tanakuli, the Kegoteko saying the Guli Landi or Kokente. It's a business one like in his hand. Ministry ITI, the ministry the case to the second, the business the Kegani, the curriculum Nigi Iron machine. Mr. Speaker, this is the case of condition of Karsi. Mr. Speaker, is the Kegatanda, this a canny day, is theatre liaison, the program opportunities the case of Kandigatanda. The continue the car. The only Guinea dinner cage that it lazy and the metallic white that like I'm the Carciatile. ITIC the Tuchilla car. I see can this Coagana Tali to the junior take a senior zone that Colasa can dig at the lay. Is the Honda Mikutla John Dennis was over. The Tanti go like that case in come get each other. Can German the Honda need to later at the town you get in. Mercy. Near Twin Lake. Mercy, Mr. Speaker. Ministry in our Tizeke Ginda. Tuzeke Gotlin Day. The Chinas Tizeke. The Untitled Chapter conversation funds. Community Harvest Support Program Agenda do members that see the KZ Machine the Atuli the NRA Gaganda the Huddles and Trappers take care. They need a car to guys him while I think the Atuli end. Mercy, Mr. Speaker.
If I need to. Mr. Speaker, will the minister commit to review the parameters of this funding when they're doing the review to decrease the percentage of income required through harvesting to broaden the support for as many harvesters as
Anete harvesters the killer situli and Dadikona towards the city of Tata and the end in Machine. The Katu and Dadikwaita.
Eligible requirements, including the current criteria related to the income percentage. And for the member, she has reached out to myself previously to talk about this, and it's been
Titseke me gogo segani deka de kya ya de tilang diang de department de tia ite ka ge diang de ni masin. Masin, Mr. Speaker. $40,000 compensation te kesi gati ta di cabin te kesi medan me te ke te go tin de te ke ha zonza la si le ka go tin de si ma compensation go ni en. Merci, Mr. Speaker. Asi ko na de di te ke equipment te ke tin zi te ke ga zon ko sana te ke si ati public te ke ta ke ta ni de ka go tin ni de ka ma ga ta ma ka ni ta the members see the Kenny Ka as a regional officer going there as a go. Tizeke when I need that then the mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure if the minister will be able to answer this one, but if he can provide the information, can the minister provide what the department has allocated?
The department la done the application that the situle mechanic how they done it there with the end machine.
hate to make a commitment to have to come back to the member with that information, but for that detail, I'll reach out to the department and we'll get it to her in a timely manner. Thank you.
No te me go when it then it's a cut to you, Mataka, the machine. Written question, Ninakput. Merci, Mr. Speaker. Je toute limited device in Northwest Territories under Section 74(1) the Public Utilities Act is toute la carrière quand des public si quotati ni de is dati kagoti ani de ji kagoti si la di distributors that Northwest Territories dati Public Minister, Minister, let the Public Utilities Board. Agidio de date dizekeze to te gotin de go kwezeke gani de the Northern Territory Park Community. Yata tono ni dendi. Kote atane the number on the DC Park Corporation the kezi moni the ku DC the Kumuni the October 21st, 2020. Question number 3. Tanete on the power limited residential homes as on Northwest Territory, Chico, Northern Utility, NWTA, got a company at 20 and the question number 4. Tanete on the power limited due to got in the Kigani, the Northern Utilities got others or Yellowknife with a company. Merci, Mr. Speaker. Merci.
Of committees on the review of bills. Member for Kamlik.
Kamlik. Merci. C2C, Bill 20 zeke, Act Employment Standard Act, Bill 20, do Legislative Assembly si Yokakin Line 2020, got the Social Development zeke. It's February 10, 2020, stand committee, you go public hearing, you Minister Education, Culture and Plan, got the chair, you go conduct class by class, I again that March 2021. Mr. Speaker, committee report is in. Is a Kena the need any day employment standard agency car the Tata on this occasion Gatan to the end. Mr. Speaker. Table of documents, Ministry, Health and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, as you table of then. Follow-up letter or question 572-19 to elder abuse. Masidi. Table documents, Ministry, Infrastructure. Masi, Mr. Speaker, follow-up letter of the oral question 517-19-2 incident involving transport trucks on highway number 3. Northwest Territories Housing Corporation. Mr. Speaker, the KG update policy document April 2021, Northwest Territories Housing Corporation. Table document, Frame Lake. Mr. President, the KG anti-property report card in Daniel Masi. Notice of motion, Kamlik. Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, March 10, 2020, I move the following motion. I thought, that is what DC, Honorable New Victorian Lake, the Kizata and System Covering of North Territories, SC, Watergin Day, Tati Rosie, Kaganu, Tati Housing Corporation, SC, the Ken Makoni Gala, Kota Chuto, Northwest Territories Housing Corporation, SC, to what they talk about the committee policy statement that Kizi contacts the Liazo. Kota Chu. Northwest Territories Housing Corporation SC, Katia Road Referral to the Kizi Problem Program SC, Kata Lisi Gagala eviction there. That is the Kizi Government North Territories provide a comprehensive response to motions against 120 days. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you the Bill 23C that will get the Tiatuli and the Masindi.
Bills, second reading of bills, consideration in committee of the whole of bills and other matters, Bill 3, Bill 12, Bill 13, 14, and 16, committee report 8 and 9-19 brackets 2, committee report 10-19 brackets 2, minister statement 77-19 brackets 2, table document 165, 166, 167, and 286-19 brackets 2, with member for Nivik Twin Lakes signature.
Twin Lake, do it is a Takata.
Hold to order.
I will now call Committee of the Whole to order.
Order out then. Family Committee Second. Massive Madam Chair. Caught the further document 2 and 6. Zakaroya 2022 Zakation. Department of Tourism and Industry Zakation. Zakagatan Datulini Masi. Americana 2022 Kosan Masi.
Committee, we've agreed.
Committee, the table document 286-19 to Department Infrastructure Minister Sisakos, Minister Industry, Tourism, Industry, Minister opening remarks, Masi, do 2021-22 Department Industry, Tourism, Zekesi. Is Zekesi 404,000, 0.7%, main estimate 2021. This Zekesi Lamze Hondani de Dule Ajikatana Taza Kezigatan Tatani Mikyozesi. Tizeke Aindani de 2.29 million is Hakanete Gatanta. Danet a 2.296 million is he. Aji the honor contest on Baggy with easy as or the Cadete, Ki Tai Di Sulago Desi, Canete son Baggy Jesi Ardendi. The 396 tourism, the 400,000 mining, 360 mineral resource, 350,000 action plan to Simmerate, 250 sila to coordinate the Kegatati. The Great Stave Lake Fishery Tekegan. Forest growth for 134,000. 2 region tourism with the parks position Tekea. Okitane Galaganda. 283,000. It's a 225,000 he out there dealer petroleum resource 58,000 is ya the on it's a out in the demola suit goods and the sunset any day 2.67 million. It's a kilometer goes out the other. Got the Northwest Territories royalty regime, social economic agreement, got the Northern Food Development Program. Yakari Shinathan, the massive. Minister, do America is what the cutting the end. Masi the la car more good there to lily the table documents the case you and the committee Kanana zone. Committee do department summary, got any day Magatan the activity got any day corporate management got page 206, got any day 208 got anything on this line. Hitler goes out of Shini there. Farm Lake. Madam Chair, 이제 계신 이것도 가야 지시들에 이제 메카니 타연디야 카시송 칸디지가 있다고 어디제 계시야 갈라티 손바제 계타마가 있다 연디 마시 Madam Chair 이제 그 산에시아시 메카야 치네서카 메케다텔로 마시 Madam Chair Corporate management zitlo sarasini tauti tu ejina dihtejana sarachu Industry and Tourism Investment Corporate Management Operation Expenditure Zekigazanda 2021-2022 main estimate $9,216,000 Committee kanalesti Masi du Koti Economic Diversity Business Support Zekigazanda 209 was a 213 information item in. Chitlego Sarashini then. Framework. Tati teke minister si yegon kuinte the down the $50,000 give the teke sigan 211 teke sigan the contribution unit 200,011 200,000 teke si you te 150,000 la oji on the yen. Daji teke si the minister si yegon kuinte jiwada sindi masit. Masit. Jilation union workers teke on the jitayo kuinte. Ijiteke si gotten the contribution down the Sombateke. 150 si la the owner action plan teke on the end.
I've got a total of 300, but the minister, I think, mentioned 350 in her opening remarks. And then I got a figure of 200 here. So I'm not an accountant, but something just doesn't seem to be quite right there. Can I get a better explanation? Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Minister. Madam Chair, this is the contributions section here, and so this is detailing, I believe, money that is going to direct to, for example, the maker spaces, in contrast to money that would be directed to a position that is there to support the work of the department, broadly speaking. Thank you, Madam Chair. Which is the, sorry, that would be the 350,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Member?
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair. So now I know what the 200 is here, but then I heard that there's 300 found somewhere else, but the minister in her opening remarks said that there's $350,000 to create an action plan for the knowledge economy, so it still doesn't quite add up. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, again, perhaps actually, I think that it's good news here, Madam Chair, in the sense that there's money both to advance projects as well as money to put forward to the work of the knowledge economy as a strategy. But perhaps I'll try a third avenue and suggest that Pamela Strand answer the question, please.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Strand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the funding which is allocated for the knowledge economy would be found under our operations expenditure summary under purchase services.
Thank you. Member for Frame Lake?
Okay, I think I'm going to move on because I'm not getting anywhere. I want to ask about the status. Is there any money in here for the there was supposed to be a new NWT arts strategy, and I'm not sure where that falls between EC&E and ITI. So maybe I can get an update of the status of that and what involvement ITI has and whether there's any money in here for that. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Minister? Thank you, Madam.
Madam Chair, ejitu yego kon te kesi gain tani te ti somba te kesi mekana ta zago sa de si de yandi ta ti te lia ti la ka ti ITI te ke arts funding eji la ti on ti la arts te ke programade ta ti te kesi la Meganaze region te kesi ga the arts ga den di yendi ya de yendi masin region te ke ga masi the arts te kesi kandi jizon te ni de la tandi da ti minister the ECE he et the tani ikli ti me ke ka laita ti te kesi sumo goita ji te ke de mo kundi kaut ICN di minister kakati ti te ke ECE te kesi no teni de me ga numbers go ti ane ji te ke ti plan te kesi o andiamo di enti masini sitile se te kaze ti NWT te ke son baisi a me te action plan la tandio de enti masi isi la ka no teni de ka kazu chuzi yenti tuya kicho ta ole yenti masin. Masi Madam Chair. Isi tilasi megakala fan gundli the action plan te ke gadasinji masi. Masi Madam Chair. Isi te kesi tu la kala meta information hati le di kala ji sa ole ti ITI te kesi la ka da meta fund jagundi di program te ke ko te chuka ko sane shua si ko zaiti ti te kesi ka di te kesi na hetsa ya ke te oji te ke Ijika mentade kwa tane jite kesiu dia te le ani de khature khatelle na hime kasini thotla khandendi masi Madam Chair iji mentade kwa tane jite ke corporation te kesi ani de Kota ke community transfer initiative ke gandane se di megainda jua chalo megainda 1681 and led to 1587 la cha ta isi tandi la na diana ze liayeni isi kai on se tsanya dindiani Deputy Minister Masi Madam Chair, iji te kesi la te onze dia chaji la tak ja iji tourism te ke da iji la ti tu isi son bai ke ta kiji te ke an den di en masi ta iji te ke gatan tani de kakotiani de la tu gaye de ko ka megai ta ko dia ji la ju cha ji de ki wa de sin sunset soul de ke ni de ici la 100,000 tourism de ke gante ta ji de ke ji na ki tu ji ka ni ta de ke ji la ta to ko ta ka de chu de ke ji sa ga ta zo ko di de ke men ta di ko ta la ka ni me chen de ke me ke na ko te ji en di ma si en de ya si ka ka de din de ne zo ti ke le ko ni ze ti ze ke ga shu ka ya di ji la si me ga budget gun li 2 November ma ta ka de chu ge di ta ji ze ke la ta di o ki ka zen la le en ki chong ko za wa ti government si ko ga lai ta ze ke ta di mo da di ze ke ji di som ba ze ke hai ta zo di tourism ta za gu de ko san ra si me se lai ni de i ze ke ga la ko ga lai ta e wa ti ro ze ke shui ni de ta di o de si me ga ta zo go on ta ka ke lu ga la ta ze ke no de ni de ta di mo go ti ta di me ke zen di ze ke ju sa me ta son ba sa la zo go de ti ne de go le de 211 rand e ta mo da ti di raison de que dans que c'est que tourisme de que yo duty jonte mais nani c'est que tant dire la tisi go tu me taiti dice que quand dis me taiti dice que la tante elle est derrière din Merci Madam Chair tourism de que kala ji c'est ko ka na ho the federal department de que si ka ko de ko ga lai ta di de que si dans di new ki a de que si dans di na za ta ke din di de que di program de que ga ni de ya ta na de si ha di de que ga da ko di a si kan di si ho ne si ya ni de ko ti la chu de ni si ya di program de que ga ni di chu de que ta Merci Madam Chair. Je dis que gaïda ni de community tourism gaïda. Je dis que j'ai. Je dis que gaïda que ni de katule kandia si federal department de que gaïda que ne NWT tourism gaïda ni de guli mora te asil to mesela ya. Ta di dice que gaïda ni de kandia ya se la ya ni. That the programs that kezi ka ko ti do ka me keri jo tourism that kezi ya ka magazan da indi da te ga ta ko me ti tia le ji te kezi da ka la di fe tse ji go ji da kan di ni de tu le tu te tourism that kezi la ka na he je agenda ke se ta di mo la di ka me keri jo na da ji te kezi a po de sho shi ko ka la ko tana de ita ize ke ote guti ita kandine zo atule kala me ke na ni ita si ne chaze le tao ize ke ga zan da zo ya kandia se oyen de masin masi Jitu Tizeke Sigan Tani De Ka the company of Kigunji, they can't say Galagna, the Skeda continue the other Kegata. Is it out an edeke? Tizekela down did a la night, night in Asia. Situated the cutting. Much
organizations which are in individual communities across the Northwest Territories, and specifically with respect to COVID-19 impacts on those on
the COVID-19 the Honda la cow. Do lay Gagan Taco Kotatze Gani de Gala the economics is a Tanigi Ale. I see a good at the son Bagoni Dizeke. I see some method long that Dizeke son Bazeke Gani day and Tauman Daddy quite does go the COVID heading machine.
So, if I'm somebody struggling in this area, when can I start to apply to a program such as this? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Andiela somebody tells you take a yet the organization is gone it up. Because any day it could actually like what has got a good day. Dandy to the IT as any trees take a can't do a good day. Because on a program to us on a message out. Must see.
Member for Trinity Willade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, thank you for that. Like I said, this is going to be important. A nice. I'll say it again. I really don't want to be put in a position where we have like a lack of a better word, economic triage. So I'm moving along here. I'm looking at some of the other items here with film and arts. I think these are really important items. You know, the arts I think are great.
Northern Arts Casey can't do that. It's a good in this Great Northern Arts Festival decade. Is it a kick and dandy that down you and there's a line in Maganda. So Metat Zona or the county occasion. The Nazi county we near go to the Northern Arts Casey County again. The Chiquaconi County go Sago the end.
And how it just seems like these two items are really like I could.
Digiteke Maganda. Si Digiteke si la catule mese lali yendi.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Madam Chair. I assume so. That's the Film Industry Rebate Program and the Great Northern Arts Festival.
The Great Northern Arts Festival is Yawayendi. The Madam Chair, Digiteke Gatanta. Metzegadan tani de si masi de si etizeke continue de dule signal di a iduzeke masi ka di kandisi mo de onson ba tani ochune se masi de mesiati kandisi maganda ita kandiu o tidida la magazine tateke gaita go Anti is taking then that it goes in Asia to Landayan. Antin de Tule make a light out the defining to make a nearly to a Tule and the Massin. Go Sana take jurisdiction method like the Alberta Yeta Cantisilla to the Kozaget the second year to the Sunday and say Jitawaris. Somba take Candisi, and this to lay go out the take the Candizeke, the other layer take any day.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member. Take that as a comment. Member for Great Slave.
Great Dave, Mercy, Madam Chair. the department that kiji daidu kene se the 210 zake $2 million you said IT zake here is the own condition Uganda Dandi me was a tanya ji yeta romese la come Minister si tule Uganda kaya ti dandi me ga nyuji zake here Masindi. Hai anaut ezeke break the condition monezi the board members to take out in days a case as well take it. That is a case you can't get the full borders in heads. Can't do in this is your cunity. Da met the reporters in at any get you to the Sunday. And I said that do John met the number kick other holder is the case you. That Kotanai he has a go in to make a kaya tea there. Massini. Massi, Madam Chair. Tanete son but a kiji on Danes, it's a key. She son but a key, a degated. It's a key waters. The Northern Food Development Program, the COVID highlights the honor. The do they got in the food development program the Kigan Dani de down the Moda the Undamolan de the Kigani de Nakina the Minister la si did the Kila si the other samba method London is one. It's a key was a year like Candidi meta is you de Asimeta the aunt the end in the machine. The department health also go like that. It's a case you the Northwest Territories Northern Food Development Programs a case I done. Do the online as the ITI, but any day Catulin at the Kage. That's your Santa the Lahini de car working groups is here, so we can go again to land. See kindness. The contain the food security the method. The car the order summary information that they cut it on a day. Catile castle, to the more gonde. Do can't do it, it's a case got and tiny day, it's a case 1920 case. Can it on the got the Ogo Sane, she's a case on day, it's a case got and that the son by son, mechanism was it all do. Quickly not go Diane the machine. Under subscribe program to Kizigatan. See me vagundi. See me gainda. See me kyodicho. Can't do it all a chemical dejon. She do connect a Kizi the program grandan. That is a Keda she did do Kenneth. Did a Okisi Gatan Dani de Meacontigun Yalimo Gotan de Atuliandedi. That is a Kizi Gatan Dani de a tight or the committee see the Hadizeke Yesenia Getty. You won't yogin the Jizeke. The Jizeke was in the food strategy program the carrots. Mega ka Kandi program gun li son de ali di ze ke war sin di masin. Si kena handi ni de kamidi si ka ko ze ko se di ze ke o. The food security ze ke wa di si. Iya kala me ke kala ita o kala me mo ze gui te yandi me ke gui te a ko ni. Minister 이제 계시라 가이고 군데 카티아티 칸디고 디아시제 케제너블리티 제케 프로그램한테 칸디와 시통 메살란데 디제 케지야 디 스탄데 선바살라지 제케 송 니카라 무다 디초레 다인 다나즈레 타제케 니데 카티 컴피티시 따서 That department says he got like and that got this only she got this one. GNWT the Kegashu got a chummy one tiny decatule, senior Gia. That she so easy couple Tiaguste and the machine. Must deputy minister that did the case machine. Minister si the case going there. Ta asi sakandi si wasn't that over than the Koenig reach the go. To come at the crown comes the Kazigan Danite, a meets on the Itake Waters. Is it the arts program, the arts finance, the Kazila. The program would lead to health or something. That is the key the Honda is on Basila, the core funding says on. That is a key, and you got to go in the industry, the case. As you got because Luther got in days a case goodly. Holly, that is the key. The program the Kezi Kandi Agunli, but any day as all organizations the Kezi target the Kandi Agun. That is the Kezi Lama professional, the arts condition, the Indonesia, Academy son basi, the Metazia Tulan, Tadi Gala Tata Kezi. You see, got and died in Israel, Madam Chair. The in the Siago and Kaha the Siago. The ITI the Kedeco. Tandim the program at the Kezi Gatanta. As you can see the Plaza land at the Kezio. The son part the Kayandi. Adigo ECITI said a Segalagan target the DJ Kezio. Down there, see what it did the Kegani dandy. That dear Kachukana go there, the Siago or Kalamagala town, DJ Kizitamo Kayanet. The Mogo said the Kiziganda. DJ Kizaki Sago Diajan, the DJ Kidamogose. Taji Maganda. Santida la city le Yuntani they chew got a key delay Magazaneta. Ta candy is the case you get out the men, daddy gets in a tacole. that the ministry you met the department see gagan dani Dene Zhatıé kandia seganizio kandini tetule kai kiti the 11 December metani ze chun Dene Zhatıé yi wa de sindi du di du da mo go sejin wa de masindi Merci, Madame Chair. So I see you. You going to the budget case, you kakala make a gala down the two station down there cargo shooting the ITI the KD you can't dare to go a galagan down the Tazaguli the Kayas Lazake the coin the COVID the Honda Shua so Megulia Gusha. Kamlik Great Northern Art Festival Yogusen Tije Kechia Kala Tanete Gaya Shigo the County Yasela the Great Northern Art Festival the Kechio Menani Seita Sitla Kola the Oze Tiaze Ita Tadio Kala Yiti Sao Tije Kechi to take out in days of Kagayandi. She too lady Great Northern Arts of Kesi. Magatan Tagos to take out in days of Kesi. Kala Nana Tenesi. Too late, Shaki Lady Ajon days of Kagayandi. Until then, they are down the Ayandi. The Ajon of Kikotin days of Kagayandi. Machine. Madam Chair, Tite Kesi Laki, Uti Mero Tate Tite Kesi Laki Mero Inle de Siagone, Cotsachune Mero Kandi, Magatan Darati Kandio de Nede Siatu, the Magatan Dani de the federal government that came as a son by Sigatan Dazo, na his son by he. That home Kandi Gatan Dani de la Dandia. Did la tia to the metatas in the son de alinese. Two guys a casey or a gully. Hita a siconition that I'm a sinite as a go. Massi, Madam Chair, Minister Tatia TC. She did a casey or did a Aji ke gatan ta sand. Ti magara ta ke ti son pa ke gatan ta. Tanete la tane. Ti khandi si ke si di son pa ke se ke te yen. Masi. Ji tu si ke si la ka up to date number me de khat pe si. That the Minister of Finance Eke Katia with an Andy Kacho. My number sets 2 is Eke Lati 2 quiet Eke uptake programs Eke 20 other applicants. That's on $1,000 go to yen. Masi. Tila program tana Ongalia Yendini. A deputy minister in the end. Is it a Kelagakala 2 weeks Kalasa or 2 Kaji Ka and Diane Masindi. Kotateki Guli Medeto, Ditekizio, the human resource capacity to get it, the young lot to get. Is your the program to get la, the show Haikoni Akandi, se only Andy. Yayo Kanti Sila Ka Meta Honila Otiri Zeki Honi Zeki Sompa Zeki Ganide Ikuda Kagonde de Siatu Handiun Tadezi was an Aseani de Kagondia Utele Di Mentadi Quanda Gotan Hende Tule Mogeta Make Kayatien Di Zeki Sila Tule Kandi Katin Lani Gimetana Oniza Galian. Not any day minister that you can Kala Shishin does together only the Tilim together in do as they are going to Smasi. Tits and negotiation and telling what the minister staff is in the Tialia Dule. And the Siadule, the code years the casing. Ka, do you see? Mogotea in the article. The application that higher. Ita is ya. The Katule, Tanet and Zambro, the Zigimo, the Sholoko, Ketamo, and the Kayak, Tizi and Massin. Massi, Madam Chair, Tizeki, Kitzeteki, condition the Simo coaching day. The territorial Jigo had seen the Massin. Ka Yadu Moga Kalagote good day, and Massin. The application the Kilasita Mo Kalagotan Delian Deputy Ministry Dia Identity the Civil such as in Dalimulation. I did the Kalendian. Massi. Katina is in the own here is the application at Ayatha Lion. Commercial fish is the Kiganda. She is the Kiganda. Indeed, done it, they are good. I can't do one. The commercial fish is the Kizilla. The fishing regulations are killed. I see how good your good charge minister that they can't. What's Madam Chair? Fishing regulations are any day. I see the case in the good yakuti, the Karata Gotiana. The County, the federal government, Editia, do you get Galaganda? ITI Chicago Tata get in the Tatu Satanic day. Tanti Kandi the Kesi Mega, the Kandi Galata the Kyoteni day. Goes on a business government, Chicago Galaganda. Kandi de Catile, Yego Gogande, the Kesi. The ITI with Tanagi. The Kesi. What's on the non-attention? Fully in the yet your own export fish get the any day go to get out the federal government. Senior game is a one the ITI like what I get in the Yazon. Containers also to let Tracy go lie and the ending. That is the case lab. Make you shine say, the case do more good the business will good the seminar and 이제게 다시 90% 이제게 지리지라. 거기서 이제 small business. 다 이제 온다라. 단지다 이제게 맞은 다지게 단지에 메자선디 이제게 지요. 좋다. 간지네 가지고 가능하게 되야리야. 다티제 시때네시 간디지 선바고니 제제키하고 제야진 대연디 두와제케라지 선바제케라 단티셀라 디 파이낸스케 미니스트리 파이낸스케 시티레 고갈라겐다 디제케 선바제케가 연디 마시니 마시 Madam Chair. DSTR니 대 9% 사 the business que got on the 55% small business containing the me ose si la on pubblicitati ati che got on tani de ka con le gota ore dice che ani ka tani de ka tandi Executive Director Board si kosi ta che hone ta si la ka se hut ala go te si ka e kyo ge jo ji ta ju gu te che ke jo masin tu Title Kenneth di 2,800,000 이제 계시 가전다 di 선바제 계시야 이시 온젤이 di budget 지사 오지 마시네 세야네세 지나체 프로그램 시제 계야디스 디 단에 대제 계시라 디제 계시 가전다 연디니 마시니 Nijiraka Magako Taunadin. Tu Kotan Tako Tije Keshi Lati Mogunde federal government Keshi, the Oza Tiajati budget. The member Laji 4.8 million Wagonde. Ijisayendi 984,000 on Ijake and then you must. Masi. Nijitake la ka sambashi kizendi di shilla gozen di unity aslashin. Tati take la ka hulian de ga le kamudishon di physical yeze. Tati take gani de di sambashi gozate gani de shitulis te kadindi. Madam Chair, the Zekesi la Kisomba Zekesi, Metsekarasia, the Koka Estiati, Metata Diti, the small business Zekegani then. The Zekesi la the your own program Zekean, the federal government did you. Nazata getting the Honda Jitaki Zekesi County, Gala Town again. The business che gani de long di tagere te so khandi business ko ya good ya good aja ti je ke ka wo ti ku ti atile I je ke ga yan ni masi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I also have heard good things from constituents for the bookkeeping money that went out. I've also heard that it's much easier for them to access seed than a lot of the CAN-NOR and federal funding that went out, which is part of the reason we gave them money to do their books, to get them in line with the sometimes very onerous requirements of getting money out of the feds. Does seed have any sort of tracking there of how much we use seed money to then leverage federal money? Because I think there's a couple metrics you could use, but my understanding is a lot of businesses go to seed to help with business plans and development applications and then go actually get more money out of the feds, which is all great.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, that is not inaccurate. That is certainly a conduit to more money, and we
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. That's fine. I'm just trying to get some good numbers on the public record for seed. Can I get an update of
Madam Chair, Tiesi teke zaka kose yaugin de kote yike gogen de ta ti se tesi me tesi yo konte teke jiga kala me ke kala ita oze kala chedi tele na jogin de ta khan de kuini me tsena go tesi yendi masin ta ti teke chila ka tu tane te ta jiga ta go tsena zengwa se jike ta mo ra tsena go te atule ko tseni de kuini de ka ko tse kali ti atule ko tse ji ji ne blu ti teke chi ye ga tsen da ni de ka tule se ti le ni teke ta mo ka ye ne ti ji teke e kuini ke ta mo ne tsena go te atule yende masin
extend BDIC loan deferrals? I understand that will end this fiscal. I know there have been requests to, continue that programming of deferring loan payments.
The program teke situle yo na tse kageti tu tako ti teke shi o yu tu yo konte yende masin
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, that is a BDIC specific item, and I know that was one of the questions they looked at when they gathered together in January. And
January ke se ti te kwa mo gu te ne se ti teke shi te mo gun te teke shi ta tu shi kikala take din di teke shi ko tanai de thi ko inde la katule ne se kale si yende masin
Member for Yellowknife North.
Minister la si tao de ti zeke a si tu le na tse kati di somba zeke wae ni ti ta kandi di program zeke gare si yendi ko tse ta de ti o ne kami de ti no de yendi ka e jia zho me tse nam zi shi ka zho ka ze zha kandi ko tu me guan shi ko tsen te atu le ti kandi ko tsen te zeke gani de ta ka da shi la ka men ta di ko tse ta ti business zeke mo zi a zeke gani de ta ka chu shi ke ta member shi tsen la gu te ne ti zeke da yo ka ya chi shi ta hi di sa zeke ta na gu te a zo yan di zeke Madam Chair. 이제 계시 마이 밑에 아니 대 GWT나 짜다긴 뒤에서 둘라서 이제 디카 뭐 카야티 레디 policy 제 계시요 다 시모나리세 디 rebate 제 가리데 이제 계시야라 다곤디 프로그램을 다 시내주 제케디 이제 계야엔디 그거대 티르고서 다 100,000 제케시 어떻게 이어선 해내서 대 티르인데 시가라 치고 간디시 단에때 손 바시라 둘레 메가잔다 년디 메가잔나 다 아니 되니 마신 member at the AG the 간디 손 바시나 제메와 세제 계지오고 대사디 간디오 둘레 모게 따메게 나오졌다 뭐 그전 데이터디 public 제카자디 둘레 디 카둘레 이 시야데 이제 계시 다요 공데 손바제 계시야 다 까라고 산을 시선 바시 셀달메제 판 제케 다 이제 계시 강디메제 대가니 데라카 메자다즈된 디아조 아이티아 타게 디제케 다 가진데 간자디 나티티테고 딘데이시 간디니 데티 시제케 두고 작은 디드니 주아들이 리존들이 아시 처음에서 라운드 디제케죠 아까 210 industry and tourism that investment 계시가 전다 operation expenditure 2021-2022 main estimate $18,195,000 committee 가라는죠 맛이 사고 하나 주지 맛이
Order. Committee, we are going to continue on with minerals and petroleum resources, beginning on page 214 with information on items up to 217. Questions? Member for Cam Lake.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I noticed that under contributions, the Indigenous Mineral Development Support Program looks like it has a sunset of funding, and so I'm just wondering if the Minister can tell us if that's found in another section or what's gone on there.
Thank you. Minister of ITI.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, there has been a sunset of funding there, which certainly doesn't suggest that there's not going to be an opportunity to renew that funding. That is, it's right now under a program review, so it's our hope that we will be in a position to come back and request the renewal of the funding once that program is done. And in the meantime, Madam Chair, there is certainly an intention to continue to work towards minimal regional development strategies wherever possible. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Cam Lake.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm seeing that this was contributions in support of Indigenous organizations to prepare and participate in mineral development in their area. And I know that the Minister said this is under program review, but was there no other way that this contribution could have continued in this year in another format while the program is being reviewed?
The contribution to KC la city le yona te kaya tiendi.
You member Minister?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to the extent that it appears as a line item, this particular line item program was sunsetting this year, and so that's why it does then continue to sunset. A lot of what it was being used for in the past was to support Indigenous governments or
Indigenous government organization schools ke kandia go zao tin liang de du le kandi le du sunset la zhe se yi ji hua na kandi mo da ti du ga ge si ga da ji te ke si ga zan da ni de du ga si ga ni de o zhe mo da ti ha li ha ka la da m ze funding ge si le ha ka la jo me ka la mo ga na si te le ji ze ka la ma ga ta zhe gong Madam Chair, the grant contribution transfer the KC Jigakala Mogusene said to the Minister, you wanna check at the KC the budget on the need the city lena check at the Internet is on by the guy in take what is the end. You take Deputy Minister did you kayak the end. Madam Chair, you take a kind do the coolie talent on the figure talent. 2020 COVID get on the do candy cathedral the resource program get and you can do can on the heat that you can't go on the massy.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I really appreciate that information. My next question is kind of a stretch, but I think it has relevance here. My next question is actually in regards to the Surface Rights Board, which I know is a lands line item. It is not an ITI line item. But it's $303,000 that I learned that a constituent of mine and myself almost made NWT history and almost using it. And I think that that is something that could have been mitigated by improving and formalizing a process, an internal and external process between lands and ITI. So right now somebody can come to ITI and they get a subsurface land rights, and they go to lands and they get surface land rights. And if those two licenses conflict with one another, then they go and they use the Surface Rights Board, which thankfully in the Northwest Territories has not needed to be used. But there's no part in the process where ITI communicates with lands, or if it is in the process, it's not consistently used. And so I'm wondering if the Minister will commit to formalizing an internal and external communication process to better educate.
Minister, the data has choose the case, la city lane that can attack the Downdy the two license case, Elego Selandia get Ijiteke Watershindi.
Madam Chair, I was wondering what the examination question was going to be here, but Madam Chair, I think rather than making, I mean, I can certainly make a commitment that we can put something together that explains
Du Mogonete Kagondine the Siago and Laki Tamagaita, the Dandi Galagan Tateki.
is where these two programs aren't communicating effectively. That's a bigger conversation that I'll also take away.
Ijiteke, the Deputy Minister did that in the end. Masini.
Here, I think it's an opportunity for us to
Masha DC Yasimaganta Tizekation, Tandia Tizekation, or Jidao, the Masini.
Thank you. No further questions? No further questions? Okay. Are there any further questions under Mineral and Petroleum Resources? Member for Yellowknife North?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have a
Tizekila title, Tiaguti, Jiteke, or Contagion. Title Zeki, Gandhi Dikim, Shogo Deputy Minister, Jiteke, the staff needs a chew, a road again, because any day ISS good there. Because any day title, the cutie is a case coca on there. Coca Galamake Gala Tayandi. The Senity Arni day come a gaita as a go on Tizeke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I get an update of what that the Mars system costs? Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if Deputy Minister Strand or if Director Salvador would be better placed to answer. Let me start with Deputy Minister Strand, please.
Deputy Minister?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Much, Madam Chair. 4 million had it. Can't you take a program of cigarettes and tiny day? Cosana si methela, as you take in down and over talk on Dion. Da Cosana si method long that the Honda do Netekaresia do you take it at it on the case here. Got any day, coolly lordy more at easy take case here. Hita the case like oh, got the Caresia to go.
Member?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I look forward for that work. I think it's a long time overdue. Can I get an update? During the last main estimates, there was quite a lot of talk about the 8 members in the Beaufort Delta under this section. I believe now we added one more, apparently in this budget, and I believe those were petroleum resource officers, and I know there's not a lot of petroleum resource, and I believe there was some talk of either reprofiling them or making sure the job descriptions align better to making sure they have work to do given the decline of oil and gas in the Delta. Can I get an update of, well, firstly, why did we add one position to that office? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Minister?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, so I can certainly go through the details of what is specifically ongoing right now, but I'm not seeing that we've added one, so let me just double check that back over with Deputy Minister Strand, please.
Thank you. Deputy Minister Strand?
Okay, Madam Chair, yes, I am not aware of adding one. We combined minerals and petroleum into one unit, and so, we have actually condensed them a bit, and further to the member's question, we will be looking at synergies with what work those staff can do up there. On top, they've helped with the delivery of our prospect.
Member?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps I could just get a clarification then. I'm looking at page 217, and I see we added 1 position in the Beaufort Delta and 3 to headquarters. I believe the 3 to headquarters.
2017 ke kan da the 3 headquarters ka kin la da ji te ke tin si a the la ji wa the resources te ke yandi masini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we do have some, yes, indeed, some coming in for Mineral Resources Act, and one is, I believe, a permafrost scientist coming in. That I believe.
The resource te ke kan di ji ga zan da ni de ji te ke se te hi te ke de permafrost ga da yandi. Masi
$16 million I see here for mineral and petroleum resources versus the economic diversification and business support, which is $18 million. I think some things are a little out of line in this unit. And I struggle to know exactly, especially the petroleum resources side, what they're doing. And I heard the Deputy Minister say there that we're trying to, get that unit at Inuvik to work on some of the Husky forfeiture and the remediation work, and I think that's great. I think that's probably the direction of where a lot of our staff have to go. But is there any plans to kind of review this unit and have it?
the unit la situle me go te ta ji te ke wa de si. An din de ko te o te jon te ga son din es. Me ga ta ni te yandi masini. The petroleum resource te ke ga de si. Masi
Minister?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is a busy unit, and it, it has a lot going on in it across different areas of.
Huklimen da de huklia ko the department te ke si. A tia me te hone ta ni te ka tule ko ga lai ta. Mo te ni te te ko tin de ani te se ri ta ni te ka tule me ta ka ri chu. Manual te ke on te ni te. Asi long le. Ko te di te ju ga na ta te ke ni te asi long. Me fa da. Asi la ka di small businesses ta ta ke den di in le de sia to go. E di tia ro di tia kan di si ga go gen di te ko tin de te ke ga ni te. Da e ji tu he si me ga ta ni te he si da me ka na ta tu le kan di ga ni te. Te ni te di te ke si tu ka le te si kan di go o ne de sia go o le. Me ga me da di kwa ta ka ni te so di ke te ke shu te ra ko se sa chon te ti te ke ju ka zna ta te ka la ji kan di si ka la ta. Ta di te ke ji ga zan da ni te ka tu le me za ta di ti a ji te ke on te si di region te ke ta. Ta di a ka la ka kon di ka ko ti ta e taun di ra ne zua sao li mo na ni se ti ta ye ne ke te ke ji. Ko te taun di me za ta di ti te ke ga ni te ji ga ta zo the economy te ke on te ni te.
Do a bit of a write-up on what the details of this department does, if that would be of assistance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Yellowknife North?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I guess I don't need to get into a very large debate about, perhaps ITI reviewing some of its mandate and restructuring some of its departments. I'll leave that to
Me go kya ta du se ne se la ki yun ta a se kan di go 2019 2020 te ke si ji geological te ke sa si ka zna ta te ke si la tan dia gu li I te ke ko ri se ne sen di ma si.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, may I suggest going to the Director of Finance, please?
Thank you. Ms. Salvador?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a decrease of 1.4 because of the sunset for the Slavey geological.
1.4 out te ji te ke da yo ka ti te ke ji ri ja ni zen den di ma si di.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess one last comment. I actually like seeing these line items of Mineral and Petroleum Resources Act implementation, and when a department goes out and creates a unit and staffs it and makes it very clear. I would encourage all other
Mineral and Petroleum Resource Act implementation to Kegai Dani Day Onago San Tennessee, Koteka say down the Mora di Zekezia. Somba Zekegani Day, due government go on his own day. Di Zekela he let on Simo Kadesigo, Salandi Jua Jaji Zekegada and down Tadadasi.
Are very behind on all of their regulations, and probably because they haven't created a clear unit and funded it like this. So I'll leave that as a comment, that good job on who.
Yagi Mago Zekadushin, Segitago de Kyotele, Tizekezi say a Timura Tijidawa in the machine.
Member, I'll take that as a comment. Member for Frame Lake.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd want to continue on the line of my colleague about staff that we have that are dedicated to oil and gas. And I know some of these people, they're hardworking, but the reality is there hasn't been any exploration.
The exploration seismic line 7 years ago could the Mazan. The Tula Yi doesn't he modition. Can they a hola third party assessment done again Lati? The Ajit Kazigazanda. I can't issue a Gogilati oil and gas ITI is a the Kandisi Katana Tazaki again Landi City.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, there's no plans right now to have any sort of extra.
Duma Kison Bowl, the Zekezi, I see Sekadi Katana Tazaki Gani de do. Hadigo oil and gas exploration Zekegani de Ka Nechain Lego do Kagondi, the G division Zekegani de Azogotin there.
Activity in the South Slavey as well. Interest in it both on a small scale and a large scale. So there's certainly that aspect of it. In addition to which, there's certainly a number of there's monitoring that has to be undertaken with respect to the petroleum land tenure system, various other holder responsibilities. You know, there's again monitoring that happens of the existing tenures. So you know, there still is a fair bit of work that goes on, and as
Sakala Chicago Dali details on Honor, go to Matani Tonseke, the Koni de Ka Kalaman Dadi Quatan Da Kakoti, the oil and gas, mineral Zeke Gashini, then Kadiga Kalakoti Aguste. The Hitaki to inlet the Tiago on a machine.
Member?
Thanks, Madam Chair. That's kind of what I expected here, but you know, the tenure system should actually be rolled into the Department of Lands. They're the ones that already do the surface, and it creates a conflict when you have a department that.
There goes a Utayu Mekaji, the Kiagundi, the Kizikazan, Taji Wallace, Kandiji, the Kiadesin. That is a Kizikalam white, the 2 page 216 got and that the contributions that she does a lot of got the core funding the NWT Chamber of Mines and the 30,000 to 5,500 18% long dune. Situate the Zakati. The core funding is in the machine.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this is project-based funding, so I'd like to suggest I can direct that to the Deputy Minister to describe the changes in programming.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Strand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, on an annual.
Deputy Minister found that, yeah, that is the Chamber of Mines at Kesila. Okonogai got Galata got the Canet out the Diti. Is you got on Dani Day, Chamber City, is he Kandi, Yagagan that it in Northern Arts would Kayanti Tamesela. I don't see the good Yagotiane, Dizeke. The Kakala Mekegalaita, the Ozen, Nizu out Lenite. Is a case the Nunavuk Tekeoka, the Tekwen, see what I got IT to take out in day. I see it so go get her or go with IT on the Tizekation. Mizandi me ke na ko ta tandi aji te ke ji kan ji ji me ke sonne zwe ke gala tane morati. Ta core funding te ke antare dia project te ke ji wan dan te yen. Ita kane zundi masini.
Madam Chair, well, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, smells like a duck, it is a duck, and this is core funding. Look, I'm sure that, you know, meeting every 2 weeks with the chamber is great. I wish that all NGOs had that kind of access to our departments. That's
Tila core funding ate tandia ku li te landi na te tia ye. Ta yi te ke ga zan da za go yen. Ta ki kan di de ma le ni an ni.
Madam Chair, I want to go over to the line item on 215, which is Mineral and Petroleum Resources Act implementation. And the minister in her opening remarks talked about how there's $360,000 for this work, but the line item here actually shows $587,000. So can I get an explanation as to the discrepancy? Thanks, Madam Chair.
Te ke mo kaya ti page 215 te ke si tu le go na te kon te ti te ke si ha.
To our Director of Finance, Salvador, please.
Thank you. Ms. Salvador?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The $587,000 is actually, we reallocated budget of
$187,000 te ke si ga nda. Ija di iji te ke la onguli somba me tani te te hona de ni te ni agiri la ji te hona me ka I an te yendi.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So, yeah, it's interesting that not only has this new division been created and we've got money to help, I guess, pay for studies and so on, but they've actually reallocated.
The study e ta ka te te ke 90 staff te ke shi 90 sika Yellowknife North ko te ta ti ati sika se ga ti ati. It's a co-workers ti me ga zan da mining oil and gas se ke go ga zan da. Ti te ke si ga zan da a ro te ke. Kan du ki ta ti me ga ko ta le ti environment natural resource ke si hutli I ke ga la gen da de ti te ke me the regulation ga ta khare ga ni de.
Land Act, Development of Regulations, Protected Areas Act, those kinds of things. I don't know, can the minister explain what's the secret here to get extra money to do this work?
Minister la ti kan ti te ke ga lan da te ke ya dang ti som ba ti ya ze yu te dang ti me te te ke si tu na te ka ti yen.
Chair, I'm obviously not here to defend the structure and organization of every other department. I would think it should be a good thing that a department is able to reallocate funds from within or reallocate staff from within rather than constantly having to create new positions. Madam Chair, this is a major piece of legislation. It's one that was ready to go or was implemented or at the end of the last assembly, but is waiting on its regulations, and I have many times heard it.
Tia ka la me te kun di thon ya te la te ke ji ta yin di so na hut any de me tia ga le go kan ti o di me te regulation je ho ne ta kha ka la me ke ga la ta de di te ke government di di ga la gen ta de di du kan di sin ta di sin la o se ni de ko ne sa me ga ko ta tu le de di tu ta ko di te ke si ho tu te ko tin de ta me go ko kya ta de sia de si le ka ma si ne se dia dan de de ki kan di di me te benefit ta jo me ta se la ze go ta di je ke ji kan di ni de ka ne zo ha de ta si ka de si ani de di je ke ji me ta de ga zan ta si kan di ga ze go o me the regulation te ze ga an de ni ma si.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I appreciate that response. Is there a publicly available plan or schedule or anything to
Timega plan ta schedule ta gun li ti me men da de ga la zan ta te ke ga ni de ti ga la ta te ke jo si public plan ta schedule ta gun li masin.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we were really just waiting for the
IDC process ke ji ta na de di ti kan di ka ti ke ani de 다시 저게 사카디 플랜이데 카메가 자 타니 단디면서 플랜이 나더니 다디 엔디 마신.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, I appreciate that commitment. So in the remaining dwindling seconds here, I see that the travel line here for the department, the current year we only expect to spend 361,000, but the travel's actually much higher for that for 21-22. Is this kind of like wishful thinking that the pandemic's going to be over and we're going to be able?
Yeah, pandemic got you me Lodario correctly on the 361,000 led to 556,000 yuan. Is it a case la do Magaita? The Itako did the 2021 case car dame the travelers who Metaza di tourism zeke ganide zeke ande da jida kandi moda di hali tourism gutata di
Worried that I didn't, but I'm sure he knows where to find me.
Thank you. Member for Great Slave.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just want to comment that the minister's description better myself. So I just wanted to start off by saying that I think perhaps the minister actually just has a semantics problem, and if she takes the word petroleum out of the title of this section, she should no longer have the problems. I'm actually really excited to see the funding in this area because this is science. This is the scientists as well. I've had the opportunity to spend time in the Inuvik office and see what they do and how much they contribute back to the community, including running the daycare center in Inuvik. I think he's the board member. So I just want to say I think that perhaps just looking at renaming might be the way to go. When I look at this, I do actually would like to know if there is going to be at any point an increase in funding for the geologic survey. I'm worried that as we lock down the borders and et cetera, we're losing an opportunity for us to continue on with our research, with our scientific side, with keeping up as a forefront or a forerunner of the permafrost sciences, et cetera. A lot of our work depends on, or our research depends on, universities external to the Northwest Territories, including external to Canada, as I mentioned in my statements. So maybe the minister could speak to the fact that when we do see $1.7 million drop there from the actuals of 2019. So maybe if the minister could comment on that, that would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Situation 2019 2020 was 2021 2022 somba ayandi tadia gulia gute tadia da guje de da tione isi kandisi la kakago ti dandi somba o tani ti le dandi meta ti hone da yandi
And a lot of contribution agreements that go through the Northwest Territories Geological.
La contribution agreement has la ejida de candida di candisa layani.
Happy to take away the idea of doing more. I also agree that this is an area that has, I think, tremendous growth potential in the Northwest Territories, given some of the unique nature of what we have here in the north in terms of geology, geoscience, geophysics. So, there's not an increase in this year's budget.
NWT Geological Survey Masini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I would like to make a comment around, during my time as a minister, I was actually very involved in many conversations around oil and gas and petroleum, LNG, et cetera, in the Beaufort Delta, not only with businesses, but also with Indigenous governments and local governments.
The business, the geological government, Beaufort Delta, the KJ Kohutli, Tlekatana Taku, the indigenous government go like Taji take Wadisi. Taji take Gatan Tani de a seat on this is a Ketule, Muti Ahali, Jiteke Gatanda.
I just did want to say that I believe there is a lot of interest in oil and gas, and
the oil and gas Kezi Hutli, then Igalagan Dagin the Jemetata Dindi, the Chamber of Mines Uganda, to the Chamber of Mines la tauti the core funding gotele. Da jite kesi la jarote keni de 시둘레 고자다즈린 디지테케인 데얀디.
Symposiums for free online, like NAPEG is doing next week, if you're interested. So, I think that, the Chamber of Mines is going to continue to see hard times over the next while as we continue to stay locked down. So can the Minister speak to maybe how she's going to address some of that concern? Again, I'm really worried that the loss of
Chamber of Mines kila situle yo konde di da manual case klezeke dia jonze kezia situle yo kaya ti du dago di kezio.
mines overnight, so we need at least 10 years out, and we need 10 metal mines to make up one diamond mine. So while I'm sitting here probably preaching and doing the department's work a little bit, I feel strongly in making a statement now that I do not agree that there is no oil and gas interest in the Northwest Territories, and I believe the path forward for our territory is through green energy minerals. And I
oil and gas minerals
Madam Chair, I don't know that I want to take away from much that was said. I'm inclined to let it stand as a comment, but no, I guess the one issue there, Madam Chair, that I am hearing is around support for the Chamber of Mines. They are project funded, and one of the major
mines is a private fund on the can do come at that in the other go is a case you that did the go to in days a kegani day cut mega somba at the chia the end. The case you more said the Chamber of Mines case you. Madam Chair, I
don't have all the results for geoscience, but as the Minister said, it was delivered online.
Ka Dante NWT Zeketaki DC Zeketana de he. Got any day like he the chairman minus he. Tageti got any day to lay you wanna take a guinea decatu and a zekaditi zeke or any mercy.
That we're working on together. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Member for Great Slave.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think that's all great. And while it's going to be painful for the next little while things just are only virtual, I actually see this in the long run of opening up the Northwest Territories and access to international markets, as my colleague from Cam Lake was saying earlier on, that, in the long run, we'll actually probably have more people participating in our forums, but when we can return to a normal sort of open venue. So I guess just one last comment, again, back to science, I like facts, and I want to invest more in this area, because just because you say something a lot doesn't make it true. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member. And I'll take that as comment. None. Please turn to page 215. Industry, Tourism and Investment, Minerals and Petroleum Resources, Operation Expenditure Summary, 2021-2022. Main estimates, $16,346,000. Does committee agree? Thank you. We will now move to Tourism and Parks, beginning on page 218, with information items up to 221. Member for Cam Lake. I'm just Any questions? Member for Great Slave.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also really like tourism and parks as well, so I'm very supportive of this area too. So I'm looking very forward to the day in which I can also travel again. At times when I've driven down the highway, like I said, it feels like I just want to keep going, right? So, no, as a
the tourism and parks the 个大个地在开始有啊，跟他底下的波儿搞个大开的区在换到，还个地下地方叫有么的么了地下嘞，以的 tourism park 在开。
With the federal government.
是啦，去 federal government 做紧的，地在开啊，个这。看定的，就上把这个是这个么子房子看的，西地安的呀，或者当然的这个啦，挨打的那些这个 service 看的这样的。
Thank you, Member. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, tourism certainly is quite dear to my heart, and I continue to hear about the impacts of COVID-19, specifically the border restrictions on
COVID-19, mikli kwa metan de ta kucha di yi border je hwanda shu ta ti je ke je ka tu le public ko je si membership je ke ta na ku te ne di ko na he de ga di ze la kha ni den yi tu a tu me ke ko se ya go o le yan di 2021-22 je ke ka ka la yi di 16,232,000 on the new.
From the federal programs, or that can be complemented by federal programs, or where there's
The federal programs that can on the GZKD. Natata continues to Kakala de sea. Down the more that the Zekani, the federal government case. Down this on Banagagi Atake Garden, that's oriented.
So, again, we are expecting to have some information back fairly soon from them, and
Kaketago did a Zenagini or Zekani, the Katuini, the Queen of Katu more than Zegorako, the end, the Downty Galata Zekiani, the County, the Great two layers on.
Very much want this to be a planned approach and not just sort of bits here and there. So that's why I'm holding back a little bit on where I can go. But I mean, I'll certainly commit to getting the plan out. I just don't know when that's going to be. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. That's good to hear, and I'm hoping, like before, we're seeing things.
Masi se Kati Kajiata Lade, into the Gotin de Dagoti Zekesio. Sectors
versus ours. I wanted to talk to you quickly about the tourism infrastructure fund. Last year, that was a great idea in keeping some small projects going into small communities, employing local businesses, building, I think it was to build kitchen shelters, picnic tables, and such. I note that there's no increase to that over the actuals from either the last 2 years. So I'm just curious to know, would the department consider actually investing more there, given that, again, we're not going to see the open of the borders this summer? To me, again, this seems like a great way we can keep small northern businesses working, keep
the tourism that can they are already Kota Kate de do Rila Condia, the London, the Ziodaris. The border that go Sugar with Kate de Chundele. Is the case down the Galata, is the Kigani, there was a down this home bomb, that's a tissue on Donathan.
Yeah, just maybe the minister could comment a little bit around that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, right now, obviously the Tourism Infrastructure Fund still sits at $200,000, but
$200,000 is okay. Tourism infrastructure is okay. Indeed, I go to see Kaka on the Galasel. The Gala is a case, it's a dead case. The next day is down the key county cell.
right now we're still closing out the end of this fiscal and trying to utilize
budget right to go in the guy la hoguli was in the thing. Can't do Magaita. Kamasi had this year's ago. This a case. Hadu mentally quite as ago. Downty. Then I can't do your gala again. The Downty with dark houses you take care as you take at the Tiazon.
Thank you, Minister. Member for Great Safe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would totally support it if when this comes back to us that money's already actually moved over into this area out of the travel budget ahead of us all voting on it. But I'll leave that as more of a comment. We can't get out of this area without talking about outhouses. So I'm going to ask the Minister about the outhouses up in the Beaufort Delta, which I heard a lot about being shot up. And
Beaufort Delta won't go tin daza keji minister la ke la tandi daza lia ji keji tandi se lia di keji
it can be like hosed down, etc., to a company. Maybe that's a business development opportunity to create a contract. Because I feel that if we have a contract in place where those, and I'm forgetting now, but I believe it's contracted out through the parks, but I'm not 100% sure, and I should know that. But you know, something along that line where it's a heated outhouse, that type of thing. But if not, if you're not,
the contract that candida the say with the in out the candida candida in land lazines you and say the so quite a din.
Madam Chair, please don't shoot at the outhouses. So Madam Chair, I'm actually heading to Inuvik in a couple of weeks from now.
Kako Inuvik the Natladi. Daji the Kaji Moko Zekosea di Kaditsukoya the Kaji. Daji the Kaji Senya the Azeke Kayan Disa Ajon Mesela. Da is the Kaji the Gotlin there. Ajon the highway the Kaji Kotaka de Chua. Kotaka Chuta. He's a case with the Honda Sakandisi Mekanita Dulayendin.
Not up to par, then that, well, obviously that we'll have to figure out a solution, maybe alongside the other solutions for outhouses that we are now actively pursuing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Member for Great Slave?
may I suggest the formation of an outhouse committee, and then you could have an open, to the public naming contest for that committee. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Are there any further questions under Industry, Tourism, Investment? Member for Cam Lake.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm ready now. Madam Chair, I see that, understandably so, there's a drop in about $2 million from the Tourism and Parks budget. I'm wondering if, within that line item, if ITI...
$2 million on these the Tourism and Parks you will go in the the borders the one Italian because
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, the drop of $2 million there that you can see between the revised 2020 estimates and the mains for 21-22 relates really to the fact that there was so much of increased funding coming through CanNor to support the tourism industry in COVID. There's actually not, if you kind of look at the main estimates to main estimates, there actually isn't very much variance there. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I'm going to have to get the member to say the second half of her question. It's gone. I apologize.
Thank you. Member for Cam Lake.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I want to hear all about the fabulous commercials and promotional material that's all ready to go out across Canada and internationally so that we can attract people back right away with fabulous programs and
the program that can continue to take out in data, but you are not that easy to get out of CN.
Thank you, Minister.
Madam Chair, I am embarrassed to have admitted to say that I forgot about what the question was because I love to talk about this. I had the pleasure of receiving a detailed, lengthy presentation, including all sorts of graphics, 3Ds, things jumping out.
Kokegendi te kegasi se zeogin te masine se te kotlin te taundi tuin pe te keji tene na te ketana te ke kandi tene ke te le te ke gani den ta ji te honda kandi si la masine se di ka te te ron dia na hyu kandi mo gai ta yen.
I don't mean to make light of it. It really was quite stunning. There's a line of Northwest Territories stories that I think people were actually crying in the room when we were watching it. So it is phenomenal. I think they have in fact won international awards for it. They are still doing that. The programming is still happening. It's still out there.
The program Kala yen dadi kala ganda kala za tai ga new gi a du ka go ti. Da dui kandi meta ze chu de le yen di kala ji se lao de. Ka ri shu ken o de ni si ze ke ye ta me ke ga lai ta yen ni.
About the phenomenal nature of the programs that they have and the marketing products that they have. It's just a question of kind of keeping the money where it can support those tourist operators now, but then rolling that product out and catching what I hope is going to be a real wave of tourism coming back to the Northwest Territories. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Member for Cam Lake. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm happy to hear that. I'm wondering, this past week, the Minister and I spoke in regards to the camping season this year, and I'm wondering if there was any movement or further conversation with the department. I believe that was only 2 days ago, so I understand if the Minister doesn't have a question or an answer to this, but just in regards to a voucher program for people doing staycations.
Camping programs that can ministry
Just confirming, I did certainly confirm.
Department you take cutting the outhouse Chicago take cutting down. Without on the
In May, so a bit of time, but we want the information out. Conscious of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Member. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a heads up, and I understand if this information isn't available, but just in regards to if the plan is to do extended stays for people, if there will be opening of showers this year, and these may be CPHO questions, but figured I'd ask them now, and I can come back later if need be. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the department worked very much in conjunction, in collaboration with the Office of
the Chief Officers that get parts that get in. Kandi ko kala kan daga kala di je ke ji kandi down di da kon de je ke a ji go di parts that ke ayen da ji je ke kandi den is you and say that is you new the as go ji je ke kandi di machine.
Thank you. Member for Cam Lake. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just want to switch now to page 220. And on there we have the Yellowknife Visitor Center, which has kind of a status quo budget item, but we do have some changes to that still, which are the site of the Yellowknife Visitor Center, the traditional site, which is still sitting there. And I assume that this budget item is to support the kind of alternate location for the Yellowknife Visitor Center, but I'm wondering if there is a plan to have a budget item.
Yellowknife Visitor Center budget
when we can anticipate that and what the plan is for that site.
Madam Chair, I think I know there's quite a lot of ongoing work with the city. Let me see if I can get the latest on where that is at from Deputy Minister Strand, please.
Deputy Minister do it's September sa wazanda dizeke metason baniti ayendi dizeke gandia morati do the Yellowknife Visitor Center dizeke morati dizeke ajin gandi again la
right now. As for the old site, I think I actually don't know what's happening with that site, but rest assured that with the new site, and they're looking at options.
The new site the old site la kakala the contract
Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Historically, we spend about 10% of the tourism product diversification program on southern operators, which, recognizing 90% goes northern operators, that's great. But
10% southern, 90% Northwest Territories. As you have public money needs to contribute to good in there and the poor tourism operations
amend the tourism product diversification program to make it only northern businesses. Thank you.
Member Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, of that 10% is you often have businesses that then employ guides locally, boat operators, airline operators locally.
Laragi go the lay, Talada go the lay, Pastashi go get the coach the Kian.
Those who may be based in the south are still often very important local operators, and
the operators you could sign the 10%.
Suggest or commit doing is to provide information to the extent that we have, and I think we do, that outlines the spending that we are aware of by those operators, so that we can see just how much the dollars that we give in their support do in fact wind up circulating back here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I have no doubt that there's spin-off economic benefits from, you know, a large southern paddle company or hunting outfitter coming up here and running their lodge. You know, I actually talk to a lot of the lodge owners who run them seasonally, and they're great businesses, but I just question the justification for us actually giving them money, especially when a lot of them are historically quite competitive and running good programs. So I look forward to seeing those numbers. I've made this request before. I guess on to another point, though, is we waived the $500 tourism operator license fee for this fiscal. Are we going to do that again? Thank you.
Thank you. Member? Minister?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes.
Thank you, Minister.
As you can teach Madam Chair, it is yet to go in the must. That the case la minister see. Cost on the $500 the can't cut son the lidike. That is a case la car mega the DC garden the holly. This a then a candidate case in the Jazikala did the makers and a Sajikala Jimikujan say.
Madam Chair, I believe, certainly for the small, medium-sized operators, my understanding is that it's actually $175 as a fee. But again, I'll certainly, if that's incorrect, I will ensure that we correct that. But with respect to having the license, it is one way that we are able to assure the public that there is protection for them that
mega service gotten go on. She done the Mego Candigan Dani de his license goni she gotten go holiday. Ha got you the business she gotten Tata Magan Dani de Cotile. The small operators can't easily go good and the reality the license can't do a sea so method landed in Damul and day jazz at you any day to take on the Magala Tazaki day car mandati was and Tazago. Da do that the sea gani day get that go that the Northwest Territories down the go on CSC. Go to get on town any day to let go to the Cali. The song by the Kigaris in the end.
I'll need to go back and have some conversations with those that are impacted by these rules. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Member?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, perhaps trying not to rehash the entire debate about the Tourism Act and whether it accomplished its goals. But yeah, I think the problem with going to NWT tourism is that part of the reason we brought the Tourism Act in was to get a lot of people licensed who weren't.
The international license go on I need the Yawanani say the tourism I need the Kandana Laki Kandi Kageti the Koji the Warasi.
That review there, can the Minister look to how we're bringing in people into the licensing scheme? Charging them $500 doesn't help, but I guess I'll just leave that as a comment. We wouldn't be complete for tourism parks unless I talked about the opening of the campgrounds. Madam Chair, every single year, I go down to Kikiza and I go fly fishing, and every single year, someone cuts the gate and goes camping there. Or they run through the creek to go camping there. There is an insatiable demand to go camping earlier that people are cutting gates. I know we can't open the parks because, you know, we have to hire some people, but there are certain campgrounds in this territory that people camp at regardless, and is the department willing to look at some sort of, I guess, the way I view this is that there's certain kind of, I think they're operated by ITI, or, you know, if you took Hidden Lake Territorial Park, these giant parks where people camp. They camp all year round, they go them. There's roadside pullouts, which some of which are parks operated by ITI that aren't necessarily campgrounds, but people camp at them. Is that something the department allows? Is there a way to create some of these campgrounds that allow people to go in and pull in regardless of the actual registered fixed season? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, I don't have that in my main.
이제kelagi tsetsal에 다이고 군데 제케시오 간디고 카 단디 다고 구데 제케시 두다 제가 다지 제케오마 가이다 단디 요니다 제케지가 전다 단디야 손바기 디디 단디 손바다가 디치야 두모 구데 디아베르세 그다지 디아나 자다게 된 디아네 두고 제다고 디제케시오
But you know, the question then evolved towards what could be done in what are maybe the day parks as opposed to the camping parks. So that's a new spin on the question, and I will.
다지 다세데 케제케시 카 두신의 제카딘 디카지소 고사는 다디 과이 다인데서 뭐가 들게 따나고 다디 campground 제케와딘 디시 고전다 campground이 레시 제케오 다지 제케시 간지사가이 다즈고 온디 마신
Question ended up when it ended. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Member for Yellowknife North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope one day I will be able to go camp in the winter without lands showing up and calling me squatter. My next... thank you, Madam Chair. My next question is, I see that we still have the lease commitment in the visitor center in Dawson. Can I just get an update of, I thought we actually weren't doing that, but perhaps I was wrong. I have an update of what the plan is for the continued visitor services in Dawson City, Yukon. Thank you.
In Dawson City, Yukon, the visitor center has a Dakoti.
Madam Chair, I know we were looking at the status of that and trying to determine if in fact it is something that ought to be renewed. I don't know if that has progressed to a final, I mean, it's not at a final point of decision because it hasn't hit me yet, Madam Chair, but let me see if the Deputy Minister can provide a bit of an update on where that consideration is at.
Deputy Minister, DTI-20 and DTI-Kyoto-Joan. Masi, Madam Chair, Kala, Mendadi, Kwauta, Jiteke, Ukaya, Jiteke, Dawson City, choose information that can determine territories, Adite. I do it the Kesi Lamo was in a Zeki, and that's on a Zeogin daily Zeki Ian.
It's a good location in downtown Dawson. Do we want to keep it? Do we not? That'll be a decision we'll look at early next fiscal. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Are there any further questions under tourism and parks? Seeing none, industry, tourism, investment, tourism and parks, operation expenditure summary 2021-2022, main estimates $16,232,000. Does committee agree? Thank you. Committee, there are additional information items from page 222 to 226. Do members have any questions in regards to any of those information items that are specifically to the information items? Seeing none, we'll continue on. Thank you, members. Please return now to the departmental summary found on page 203. Member for Frame Lake.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to There's some questions about the revenue summary because this is the only place revenues show up for this department. There's a couple of ducks here that need to be flushed out. So
the revenue 204 licenses, got the fees, the fees and payments is a Kegatan. The 47.7 million.
Thank you. Minister.
Madam Chair, it is not a typo. It is a license forfeiture.
Il car. J'ai dit que la car. Tu les. Magatan ta candidat de question.
Deputy Minister Strand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yes, that is correct. That is the work bid deposit forfeiture from Husky Energy. They had a work commitment. It wasn't fully fulfilled. And so as
car candidat the license rental got the other fees de question. Car candidat one and the car and the machine.
this is good news, but there's no explanation whatsoever of what this amount is. I'm kind of surprised that it's just kind of dropped in here, no footnote, nothing. So any member of the public wouldn't know what this is. Is there not a better way to present this for?
Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, Madam Chair, it's a fair, obviously a significant bid deposit forfeiture. It's much higher than what we would often see in a particular year. And I think I'm certainly happy to say that, and I don't know what threshold there might be or if there should be a threshold of at what point there a footnote is offered. But points well made, and I accept it that, yes, it certainly shows as being a number that seems unusual, and yet there's actually a very clear explanation available for it. So, commitment would be that if there's going to be another significant variance of that nature, that we find a way to report that publicly so that it's more clear. Thank you,
Member.
Madam Chair, yeah, I appreciate that. So I just want to get a little bit more clarification of what this work bid forfeiture actually is. Does this mean that Husky has surrendered its exploration license and that they're not going to be carrying out, I think it was like over
the exploration license 300 million on the exploration license
Madam Chair, no, it's not like that, Madam Chair. I'm going to suggest, though, that this go to Deputy Minister Strand.
In the conduct of the Deputy Ministry, the
conversion from an exploration license to a significant discovery license happens, that's forfeited. So they have spent a lot of money on this EL. I think upwards of 200 million, if not way more than that. So that, I think, hopefully summarizes it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So the company, though, has applied for a significant discovery license. And so this means, though, that they don't have to carry out the other work commitment of, I guess it would have been another 50 million, a total of $94 million worth of exploration work. That's not going to take place now. Is that correct? Thanks, Madam Chair.
Member?
Sure, that's not good news. That's, almost $100 million worth of work that could and should have been done in the SAW2. So, well, great that we get a $45 million cash windfall, but so in converting this to a significant discovery license, is that being done under the old legislation or the new legislation? And is there any requirement for even 1 cent to be spent under a significant discovery license? Thanks, Madam Chair.
The discovery license yaka o ministry at the all explanation zeke out zeke ta kakala magatin ta the ministry o kayokti jita license zeke zikala mekegala ta zeke zio ta yati on legislative thoughts alone
In place for the new SDL that is being finalized right now with Husky. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Frame Lake.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Well, that is good news because they can only tie up the land now for 15 years. But as I understand it, they don't have to do 1 cent of work, nothing, which is not good news. But I'm going to leave this one for now. And I do hope that people are paying attention to this because that system is still broken. But I have one other question here. The next item, mineral oils and gas. The main estimate here was for the current year was, $30.7 million. And the figure here is just a dash. Is that really like, we're predicting we're going to get $0 from mining and oil and gas royalties for the current year? Zero? Is that a typo again? Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member, our Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right number. Non-renewable resource revenues, minerals, oil and gas. I have 1.511, Madam Chair. So, sorry, for last year, yes. Well, so for last year, Madam Chair, actually, the numbers have been updated, and I think we are now expecting some small amount of royalties for this fiscal, given that Ekati has come back online and given some of the rebounding in the diamond markets. I don't know if I have that number available. Let me see if Deputy Minister Strand or Director Salvador do.
Thank you. Deputy Minister Strand.
So yeah, when this estimate was done, this forecast was at the height of COVID, so that's why it has a zero number in there. We do the next forecast in August, so we're anticipating that there will be a number in there. I just don't know exactly what that is. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So yeah, okay, so we don't know how much it is, but it might be slightly greater than the dash or the zero that might appear there. And then it's estimated for 21-22, we're only going to get $1.5 million for royalties from diamond mining and oil and gas. 1.5, is that right? I'm just wondering if it's a typo again. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member. Minister?
Madam Chair, typos are pretty rare in the main estimates. No, it's not a typo. Yeah, I mean, and look, the mineral resource sector has had some pretty significant struggles over the last year, and we're expecting likely will continue to have some pretty significant ups and downs in the year to come. The estimates on the forecasts are perhaps a bit conservative, but I suspect the Minister of Finance would rather have a conservative estimate than have a wide variation in terms of the own source revenues that we're expecting to have come in. So if in fact the diamond markets continue to rebound as they seem to be, but that's far from certain given that there continue to be significant shutdowns across Canada, I was going to say, but internationally as well. It's difficult to anticipate what in fact is going to happen. There have been new sales and new sites which have gone very well. But in fact, again, that's, that alone isn't going to rebound this sector. That we're going to have to see whether or not, how much catch-up is there going to be compared to over last year. How far is it going to get? And then as far as other areas, again, commodities are coming back, but a lot of our projects are at early stages, so we may or may not be seeing royalties coming in this coming year. The biggest source of the royalties was the diamond mines, and we're not necessarily able to say with strong certainty that yes, in fact, it's going to be a complete and full rebound in the course of this next fiscal. It would be nothing more than pleasure for me to come back and have a large number change there in terms of our revised estimates for 21-22 showing, in fact, a high number, but that's not the number that we projected back in the height of COVID when the mains were prepared. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Member?
Thanks, Madam Chair, and I appreciate those comments. Just very quickly, yeah, I'm really concerned with these numbers. They are, as I understand, based on sales of diamonds, and it's not a great time to be trying to sell diamonds. And I understand, there's a global pandemic, but this is not what devolution promised us. You know, the estimates of the day were $60 million in revenues. You know, moving forward, all this was going to be, you know, benefit everybody. But when I see these kinds of figures, this is a real warning sign that we need to look at what revenues we actually get from resource development and how we manage the resources. That's all I've got to say for now. Thanks, Madam Chair. And I do appreciate everybody having to put up with 10 minutes of me doing this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Trinidad-Willowday?
I have one quick question, and I just want to bring up the last concern, and I won't try to drag this on too long. It just goes to the 1.5 million minerals, oil and gas royalties. Again, like we used to get so many like royalties and whatnot. I think something we really need to look at as a government is to, when we, anytime there's new development in the future, to find a way that if there's any sort of massive ebbs like we're having right now, to have some cost certainty, like, or to some royalty certainties, I guess, for lack of a better word. So anytime the markets tank, that no matter what's negotiated, that anytime we negotiate with industry or any sort of the resource sector, to have that balance there, because like right now, yes, when times are good, yes, the royalties are going to be great, but we still have to be prepared to make sure that we don't have as low numbers as these, because I think this is probably a historical low, you know, in terms of income. So maybe if that's, I guess I'll just leave that as a comment. I think that's something we need to always find ways to make sure that we have we get as much juice for a squeeze, I guess, for lack of a better word, from our resource sector, without hurting business as well on their end. Thank you.
Thank you, member. We'll take that as a comment. Thank you, members, and we'll please return now to the departmental summary on page 203. Industry, tourism, and investment operations expenditures, total department 2021-2022, main estimates, $59,989,000. Does committee agree? Mr. Norn.
Madam Chair, I move that the committee defer further consideration of the estimates for the Department of Industry, Tourism, and Investment at this time. Madam Chair.
Thank you. The motion is in order. To the motion. Question has been called. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion is carried. Consideration of Department of Industry, Tourism, and Investment 2021-2022. Main estimates, operating expenditures, total department is deferred. Thank you, Minister, and thank you to the witnesses for appearing before us. Sergeant at Arms, please escort the witnesses from the chamber. What is the wish of committee, Mr. Norn?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I move that the chair rise to report progress. Madam Chair.
The motion is in order. The motion is non-debatable. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. I will now rise and report progress.
May I please have the report of Committee of the Whole, please. Member for Nivik Twin Lakes.
Mr. Speaker, your committee has been considering table document 286-19-2, main estimates 2021-2022, and would like to report progress with one motion. And Mr. Speaker, I move that the report of Committee of the Whole be concurred with. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Frame Lake. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's carried. Third reading of bills. Third reading of bills. Mr. Clerk, orders of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Orders of the day for Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. Prayer, Minister statements, member statements, recognition of visitors in the gallery, reports of committees on the review of bills, report of standing and special committees, returns to oral questions 638-19-2, acknowledgements, oral questions, returns to written questions, replies to the Commissioner address, petitions, tabling of documents, notices of motion, motions, notices of motion for first reading of bills, second reading of bills, consideration in Committee of the Whole of bills and other matters, bills 3, 12, 13, 14, and 16, committee reports 8, 9, and 10, Minister Statements 77, table documents 165, 166, 167, and 286, report of Committee of the Whole, third reading of bills, orders of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This House stands adjourned until Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. Have a good weekend.